Welcome to We Geek Podcast. Today is Wednesday, May 22nd, episode 168. My name is Adam. Adam, joined by my good friend Logan.
Hello.
What up, man? And how's your week been, dude?
Busy.
Busy. Oh, it hasn't slowed down at all?
No, man. You know, it rolled from Avengers to Pikachu to John Wick. And John Wick did good this weekend. John Wick rolled hard. So
yeah. I want to see it. I hear it's good. I still gotta watch the second one though.
Oh man, that's right. You haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, it's been a crazy week. I've literally had time to do nothing.
That's always fun.
Yeah. I was able to watch some Thrones. We'll be able to talk about that. I've been reading a ton. Audible has been a lifesaver because having to drive from here to there to here to there. I feel like if I have a day off, I'm running errands. And by the time I get home, I'm like, oh yeah, it's about time I normally get off work. Like I've just completely, I don't know. I just want a day off where I can just sit at home and relax. But yeah, it's been a crazy week. But yeah, man, just been reading and stuff. And I didn't get a chance to go to the movies. I gotta see John Wick 2. I gotta rent that. I know it's on Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Continental, I think it's called. But
nah, it's just John Wick Chapter 2.
Oh, see, I thought it was called like the Continental.
No, they were gonna do a spin-off show based around the hotel called the Continental, but that never, so far, that's never become a thing yet.
There we go. Excuse me while I take a Sudafed real fast. But yeah, no, I mean I've been reading, dude. I have been jumping between the Wheel of Time. As if you guys listened last week, I was reading The Eye of the World, first book in the Wheel of Time, and also Brandon Sanderson's The Way of the Kings, the Stormlight Archive series. So I've been mostly doing the Wheel of Time book, but I think it's time I need to jump back to The Way of the Kings. I find I enjoy The Way of the Kings a lot more. It's just the Wheel of Time book is a lot shorter, so I was like, should I just blow through it, get through it, and then finish that? But I'm going to be jumping back soon to Way of the Kings. But yeah, man, that's really all I've been up to.
Nice. Always fun.
Sorry, I took my Sudafed there real fast.
That's all right.
But yeah, man. So how was John Wick?
Awesome. It's fantastic. One of the things that's great, aside from the action, I love that every successive film does really great world building. So you learn more, in the second one about the more of the rules. It's not just there's the Continental. There's sort of a governing body of sorts, and then in the third one you get sort of an expanded view on that and exactly how that all works and what kinds of repercussions there can be in certain circumstances. And it does a really great job because it doesn't dump a ton on you. It doesn't give you the entire history of everything. It gives you enough that it covers what's going on in the movie, plus a little bit extra, so it's kind of interesting. You know, it doesn't bare bones it, but it doesn't overload you. It's a really nice balance.
Awesome. Yeah, dude, I want to go see that for sure.
Yeah, but you got to see the second one before you watch the third one. Picks up right at the end of the second one.
Okay.
So it's good. One of those where it's like, oh, okay, how did we get here?
Well, speaking of John Wick, it was announced that Chapter 4, I guess, was announced, and it's going to be coming out in 2 years.
Yeah, which is plenty of time.
That's
enough.
Absolutely.
The big debate is going to be whether or not that should be the last one, or if you can get a couple more out of it. And the thing is, you could. Mm-hmm. You definitely could, especially where the third one leaves off, and the doors all over the place it leaves open, where it's like, oh yeah, I could see more of them, but does that risk becoming a stretch?
And I mean, according to critics, it's just getting better and better. So it's not like Saw yet,
right?
Where it's like, whoa, wait a second.
Yeah, but then where do you hit the tipping point? Like when do you jump the shark? And I worry if trying to push it to 5 is too much. Some franchises that can work. I mean, look at the Fast and the Furious.
You know what? it's funny. I was just thinking, what if he became the villain of a Fast and Furious movie, and it was just Fast and Furious versus John Wick?
Look, man, there are
I'm
dumber
not
thoughts
kidding.
in the
I was
world.
googling who owns the rights to these to John Wick.
Well, because John Wick is Lionsgate, but they're not their own. Are they their own thing? Yeah, they're their own thing.
Yeah,
But they
Thunder. I guess Thunder Road Films is who made it, but yeah, who produced it?
Lionsgate, I think.
Lionsgate. Okay. Yeah,
They
I was just. This is exactly what I was thinking. I was like, could that would be jumping the shark? I would totally be in on it. But that would absolutely be jumping the shark.
you could, but I mean, look at Hobbs and Shaw and what they're setting up. I mean, they're setting up like they genetically recode Idris Elba to make him Black Superman. So I mean, I don't. I mean, the sharks have been jumped many
Well, yeah, no, I mean,
times.
John Wick feels like a comic book movie.
It does. It
feels like a fantasy movie with guns instead of magic.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It's very much. It's like what if Wanted had been more grounded.
Yes.
Basically.
Exactly.
Which is an odd sentence considering that the movie grounded the comic books, because comic books were weird as shit. Did you ever read the Wanted comic?
Yeah.
It's weird. Like
Very
it's
weird.
it's extra weird, and they kind of went, no, that's too weird for us.
Right.
But
no, it's very much. I mean, the John Wick series is very comic booky.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It feels like an Image comic.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Having them cross over with Fast and Furious is not the weirdest idea.
Yeah.
Really. I don't know if it's a good idea, but they've been stranger.
Right. It would be a better pick with that than like Men in Black or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure.
Or 22 Jump Street.
Yeah, but I still want that Men in Black 21 Jump Street crossover.
I know.
Like,
those make sense together. That's
right.
how. Yeah. This and Fast and Furious would make sense together.
Yeah.
But yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I'll get some time probably this week to watch it. It's you know me. I'll get into something. I'll get really into it, and then I take a right turn. I'll get into something else. So
yeah,
I can cut away a few hours this week and watch some John Wick on Amazon.
There you go. They're paced fantastically. Like it's just everything just keeps going. It doesn't feel like a dead sprint, so you're not exhausted. But it doesn't feel, even in the second one, nothing drags. That one of the action scenes in the third one could have gone a little shorter.
Yeah.
But I mean that's I'm talking like a minute.
Yeah.
Maybe. Like I mean that's a really fine nit to pick.
Yeah.
So I mean they're worth it. They're absolutely worth it. They're just simple action movies. They give you a little bit of setup and then because it's in the trailer, guns, lots of guns. Like that's the movie. And if you're looking for deep philosophical treatises on things, this is probably not for you. But if you're like, hey, I want to go spend 2 hours watching Keanu Reeves be a badass, done.
Yeah.
There you go. That's all you need.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, I'm putting that on my list this week. Gonna watch John Wick 2. I can't guarantee 3 yet.
Fair enough.
But I'll try to do 3 this weekend.
Everybody will be going to Aladdin this weekend, so the theater will thin out for you somewhat.
That's true. Yeah, maybe I'll make it a double feature.
There you go. Do that. If I'm going to recommend a double feature this weekend, do John Wick and Brightburn.
Oh yeah, Brightburn does come out.
That's this weekend too.
Yeah. Whew. My friends' kids will want to definitely see Aladdin though. So that's the thing.
Yeah, so will everybody else's kids.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's Memorial Day weekend.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Yeah, how
what
about
day is
that?
Memorial Day? Next Monday?
That's Monday, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh boy. Alright. Well, we'll see.
But, this weekend was a pretty solid weekend. I mean, John Wick brought in almost 57 million, which I think was above expectations, or towards the higher end. So good for them. You know, I mean, R-rated movies tend not to be extraordinary moneymakers, but ever since Deadpool, studios have stopped. Like, the curse of an R-rated film was broken.
Yeah.
Like, the idea that, oh, it's rated R, it's not going to make any money. Then Deadpool came along and went, hi, fuck you, here's all the money.
Right.
It was like, okay, yes, this can work.
Yeah.
So it's a good week for John Wick. Avengers dropped to about 30 million, which is a little steeper than I expected, but not by much.
Yeah.
It's making that uphill climb to beat Avatar worldwide look like it's gonna wind up just short. I'm talking
Damn.
like I mean under 40 million. If I'm reading all this right, like it's gonna come up just shy.
Well, they'll just re-release it.
They will at some point. Well, I mean, they did with Avatar too.
That's true.
This, Avatar's worldwide total also includes like I want to say like 100 million for its re-release from a few years ago.
Yeah.
So it'll come around for sure.
Yeah.
Detective Pikachu, another 25 million. Not a bad week, but a sizable enough drop. Puts it at about 94 altogether, which is pretty good. And I don't know what its worldwide total is. I know it's got a pretty good worldwide total. But a success overall, definitely a success for sure.
Oh yeah.
We got one of the other things that opened this weekend was A Dog's Journey, which was a sequel to A Dog's Purpose, but had nothing to do with A Dog's Way Home. Even though all three posters were almost the same.
What?
They were yeah. So there was A Dog's Purpose, last year, I think, year before, whenever it was. And then in January this year, we had A Dog's Way Home, which was the Homeward Bound ripoff that was done by Sony, as opposed to Universal, who did A Dog's Purpose. They were not connected in any way. But the posters looked almost the same, which was bizarre. And now we have A Dog's Journey, which is a sequel to A Dog's Purpose, and is also done by Universal, and has almost an identical poster to the other two as well. So if you just line them all up, you would think, oh, hey, they did a real, they ran a trilogy here. No, they didn't. The one in the middle had nothing to do with the other ones, and had a bad CGI puma in it, and was just bizarre. But that one came out. It made 8 million, which I hope they're celebrating as a win, because I can't imagine the expectations were much higher than that. The Hustle pulled in another 6 million, that puts it at about 23. Considering how much of a critical flop that movie is, 23 million can't be looking horrible for them.
Yeah.
And crowds. The crowds coming out of it are mixed at best. Nobody's really enjoyed it, but also nobody's really disliked it. It's been a mix of that was fine, to, that wasn't really all that great. It's weird that it has a post-credits scene, though.
Yeah.
I'm so used to, nothing having a post-credits scene anymore, since Avengers didn't, and nothing else did, and I was cleaning one of one of my auditoriums for The Hustle, and everybody's gone, and the credits are wrapping up, and then, oh hey, there's more. Just okay, I wasn't expecting this, but alright, whatever. And it's unfortunately, it's what it is. I imagine it's an extra piece of a scene that's in the film somewhere. I haven't seen it. I don't know anything about it, but it plays like that. It's like, oh, this is part of a sequence from somewhere in the movie. It's not an outtake or a blooper reel. It just looks like a piece of the scene that they cut out or something.
Oh, okay.
And it's kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie, but it wasn't funny enough to make me interested in it.
Yeah. That's cool.
I'd rather go see Long Shot. Everybody I know that's seen Long Shot is like, look, if you like Seth Rogen movies, you're gonna think this is funny. If you don't like Seth Rogen movies, you probably won't think this is funny.
Right.
And I'm like, that's fair. I get that. That makes perfect sense to me. Which means it's not going to do terribly well in theaters, but it'll do fairly well on home video.
Yeah. Probably.
And then this weekend's going to be fun. We have something for everybody. The kids can go see Aladdin. The adults who hated Superman can go see Brightburn. And everybody graduating high school can go see Booksmart.
There you go.
You've got everybody covered this weekend.
Yeah. Yep. I'll probably go see, oh man, Brightburn or John Wick. Or Aladdin if I go with my friend and our kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But should be an interesting weekend. Interesting weekend. And yeah, I mean, there's that. There's not a whole lot of news this week that I could find.
Yeah.
And it was just, I don't know, it was just a weird kind of slow
There was some
week.
Batman news, right?
There was some Batman news. Now, I've seen nothing is official, but I've seen that basically the top two contenders to play Bruce Wayne in Matt Reeves' film are either Nicholas Hoult, who was in Tolkien and some other stuff, and Robert Pattinson, who was in a ton of other stuff than Twilight that nobody knows about because none of it was mainstream except Water for Elephants.
Right.
Which is tragic. And that's what's been great about seeing his name rumored, is watching how many people have the knee-jerk reaction is, oh, not the Twilight guy.
But I mean, it's not their fault, though. The guy, the biggest thing he was in, he was trash in it. And all the other things that everyone's saying he's fantastic in are movies you can't expect the casual moviegoer to see. So that's something that they have to deal with. That's something that they're going to have to, regardless if he's a good actor or not, that's going to be a problem for the film.
I think, though, that Batman is a role that's so big that if they cast him and he nails it, that puts his Twilight rep to bed. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, 100%. I don't think this is the same kind of situation as I saw a lot of people saying like Heath Ledger, but Heath Ledger was in a lot of other movies that were mainstream.
He was in a ton of big movies, yeah.
Right. So you could see that he was a good actor. I think people didn't like Heath Ledger because it was more of like the early days of Leonardo DiCaprio kind of situation, like this pretty boy or whatever. I don't think it's like that with Robert Pattinson. He is legitimately not good in Twilight, but it's not his fault. Everyone's not good in that movie.
Right. That's those are movies that have issues across the board.
Yeah. I have no problem with that, but I'll be completely honest. My interest in DC right now is next to nothing.
I'll give them. I would have agreed with you if not for Shazam.
See, I never saw that, I guess.
Did you not see Shazam?
No.
It's got to be out on digital by now.
Wonder Woman was good. Aquaman I had fun with. I'll just be honest. Batman I have seen a million times. I'm getting the same vibes I think a lot of people got when they're like, another Spider-Man. And granted, this is the best Spider-Man we've ever had. Or live action, I guess. Because damn, Miles is pretty damn good in that.
Yeah.
But I get I'm getting the fatigue of, do we need another Batman movie right now? I don't think we do. I think there's so many other characters they could tap. I would honestly rather see a Green Lantern movie at this point than another Batman movie. I'm so done with that.
I think that's a good point, but
that was my feeling when I saw that. I was like, okay.
I also think that there's the idea that the public knows Batman.
True. I completely agree with
and
you.
I think that's kind of the big driving force behind it. Do we need another Batman movie? No, absolutely not.
Are we doing another year one Batman?
I hope not.
That's what it seems like.
I would like to see
he's super young.
Yeah, but he's about the same that Christian Bale was.
Yeah, and that was Batman 1,
right?
Or it was
but let me see Batman Year 2. I would like to see that.
I think we're beyond that, man. I don't know.
I tell you what, I would go for a Beyond. Like that.
Do you think they saw this Homecoming and they're like, that's what we need, younger? I want a Batman that's already established. You know, just like I guess what we got with Ben Affleck.
Yeah, but
But
he killed people, and that freaked people out.
we never actually explored that Batman though.
I agree. No, I completely agree.
His movies always, the movies Ben Affleck was in always had to do with someone else.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sucks. Obviously, it's not the studio's fault that Ben Affleck decided, you know, that the script wasn't good enough that he did for himself, that he didn't want to continue on with it. And man, I don't know. I I don't know what the word is. Indifferent. I couldn't really care less.
Yeah.
I have no problems with, I trust a million people telling me that he's a good actor. I think I've looked up a clip or two, maybe a few months ago when I heard the Collider people talk about it. But you know, in those movies, I was like, oh yeah, that's good job. But I have no problems with him. It's do we need another Batman movie is where I'm at.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. That's a completely understandable point.
Yeah, yeah. But we'll see, I guess. I did love the idea that I saw a bunch of memes being thrown around with Michael Keaton as older Batman.
Yeah, I would kill. That's what I'm saying. I would kill for a Batman Beyond movie.
Batman Beyond.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah. Now that would get me way more pumped about the Batman movie, because that is something we haven't seen before.
Yes, that is an exciting and different idea of like, no, here's where we are. Here's where this universe is.
Yes.
And it allows them to be a little, because like they don't have to go crazy far into the future. They don't have to make it ultra futuristic. Just, Batman got old. Batman was in that, Keaton's Batman was 89. It's been 30 years. Yeah. It's been 30 years this year. I think it is perfectly fine to look at this and say this is now a Batman Beyond. They didn't have anything that looks like any of the tech that we have today. Right, it's futuristic enough.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Absolutely. I would totally be in on that.
I think that's a fantastic idea, and it's different, like you said. Like, it's not another Batman movie. It's a different Batman. It's literally a different Batman, and it's a whole new, future to look at things. Like, I'm okay with that.
Right. Who do you think the villain would be?
I don't know. I couldn't.
Do we do someone new? Do someone different? We do Clayface. Who do we do? A new version of the Riddler.
Riddler could be interesting. You could have Pattinson play Batman and Holt be the Riddler.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I think that could work.
Or does this somehow tie into the Joker movie?
No, I don't want anything outside of the Joker movie coming anywhere near the Joker movie. I don't want it even referenced in anything. I want it to stand alone and be its own thing, and that be the end of it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. No, gotcha. I don't want anything to touch that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because it's clearly setting its own tone and telling its own story, and it's set what, back in the 80s, it looks like, right? So I mean, unless you're gonna have Joaquin Phoenix be old man Joker, like
right. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. That could be interesting, but I would rather that movie that's a thing and it's made and it's done. I don't want any. It doesn't need to be beholden or connected to anything. I don't care.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know. The Riddler could be interesting. Because I'm just trying to think of people that we haven't seen that aren't, really big pulls. Clayface could be. Clayface has potential, but I just don't know how well that would work without a setup.
Right. The TV show for Gotham, they kind of went really into the Penguin and the Riddler. I don't know. Mr. Freeze, I don't think they want to go back to that. I don't know. I'm curious what they do with the villain.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, we'll see. What else do we got here? We got some Mortal Kombat news, don't we?
Yeah, the reboot that they've been talking about forever that James Wan is producing is finally going to film later this year. Mm-hmm. They're going to film it in South Australia because I guess they wanted to go somewhere where there's nothing. And so sorry, I can't help it. I mean, come on, we live in a country where like a third of it out in the Southwest is the exact same. So I mean,
Right.
uh, but it's in pre-production, or pre-production starts next month or whatever it is. Uh, so that's going to be a thing going forward. I'm excited.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine a lot of it will take place in Outworld or whatever, right?
I don't know.
No?
I
I
don't
mean, I
know.
think that's why they're choosing that location.
I think so. I mean, that makes sense, but you've also got to think about with it being there's a lot of coast down there to shoot on, so they could easily set up. This is taking place at the island during the tournament. Like,
Right.
it just depends on how much story they're gonna tell.
Right. Yeah, I'm just excited we're getting, a
Yeah,
Mortal
and
Kombat movie.
yeah, and from James Wan, who has shown his action chops time and again, and also his creepy chops time and again. Like, I mean,
Oh yeah.
he's between the Fast and the Furious and the Conjuring, like the dude's on a roll here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That should be interesting.
And Aquaman. I mean, this guy's been everywhere. Like,
Yeah. Did you see that? Apparently, so the Falcon and Winter Soldier series is going to be a 6-part miniseries.
yeah, with where are we down here?
Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I got it down here in TV.
Okay, cool. My bad. Sorry.
Sorry.
Whoops. Let's back up. Let's roll it up.
You're gonna make me skip my Saw news? Like, this
Yes,
is the
let's
best
go
news
with
of the
Saw.
week. So Lionsgate is going to relaunch the franchise, because of course they are. Because
Yeah.
they're cheap films to make, and as long as they make some money, it's a profit.
Yeah.
The next one, whatever it's gonna be, whether it's a reboot or a reimagining or whatever the hell they decide to call it, is gonna be October 23rd of next year, so around Halloween, which is a good time.
Yeah.
And it's going to be produced by Chris Rock.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, apparently.
Oh wow.
Yes, that Chris Rock, the same one.
Okay.
I don't think there's more than one, but I saw this and I thought he must have had one hell of a pitch. He
Yeah.
must have gone in and thrown something down where they went, you know what? Screw it. We don't have any other ideas, and this sounds like it'll make money.
Yeah.
So okay. So all right, we'll see. It
Yeah.
it yeah. If they wind up making the worst of the Saw movies out of it, that's still not going to be saying a whole lot.
Right.
Because some of the ones in the middle are like 5, 6, and whatever were just bad.
Right.
And Jigsaw was just bland. Like, it was.
I never saw that.
It was unnecessary and uneventful. I mean, there were a couple of interesting moments in it, but it wasn't like, you want to talk about unnecessary. It was like, why did they make this? Well, because they could. I mean, okay, but they could have spent that couple $1 million on something else.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah, Sony, and this will dovetail nicely. Sony has announced a new division called PlayStation Productions.
Okay.
Which is going to spearhead their turning video game properties into movies and TV shows.
All right.
Basically.
We'll get some Adam Sandler and Seth Rogen. Sony movies.
Don't even start.
That's what that means.
Don't even start with me. If I see Adam Sandler starring in the Uncharted movie that they're still working on, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna sell my PS4. Like, I'm gonna buy stock in Microsoft. I'm gonna get the old N64 logo tattooed on my face. Like, I'm just gonna just because.
So what PlayStation franchise would you like the people who did the Into the Spider-Verse movie do?
Ratchet and Clank.
There you go.
Done. Signed, sealed, delivered. They've talked about they said that and they've been working on this a couple years now. They've put pieces in place, and they're already developing some projects. And what's great about this is it's a completely integrated delivery system. Like, they can do all of this in-house. They can produce it, they can develop it, produce it, and distribute it all in-house. Like, from the top down, it's all Sony.
Oh, that's good.
They don't have to worry about licensing it to somebody else and being beholden to, some other production company and who they pick and who they want and all this. So it's good and bad
Yeah.
in that respect. But they've talked about they're already working on a Twisted Metal TV series,
Hmm.
which I think is tremendous, and I think that's an interesting way to look at it. Um, I don't know if a movie would have been necessarily better, but I just never would have considered that a show, really.
Hmm.
But that could be interesting. They gave an update on the Uncharted movie. They said it is in advanced development,
Yeah.
which is a bullshit term.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't exist. Either it's in production or pre-production.
Yeah.
It's still somewhere in pre-production. Like that's what that means. They haven't done anything yet. There
Yeah.
may be a script and storyboards and that kind of stuff. The stuff you get for pre-production, but the production has not started. That's all it means.
Yeah.
Um, and the interesting thing is that the whole thing is going to kind of be godfathered by Sean Layden. So that's like I'm happy about. I like that.
Yeah.
Because that's that we saw. Because here's the thing: we saw with Powers that they can make a decent program. Their delivery system sucked, but I actually enjoyed that show. Like I thought it was a good show, but having it
Yeah.
on like the PlayStation Store was just like,
Right.
oh yeah, we totally forgot about this thing.
Yes, exactly.
So, but I think if they do it this way and they find a way to for the TV stuff, I imagine they can just rebrand part of the PlayStation Store to do
Hmm.
it. To have that to put that out there. I mean, hell, they've got Crackle if nothing else. They have their own. People forget Sony has a streaming service already.
Oh wow.
But yeah, because nobody ever uses it for anything.
Right. I remember. Yeah, I remember the show, but after that, there was nothing else, right?
Yeah, because it did not do anything.
Right.
Like it did nothing. Which was kind of too bad because it was an interesting show. I liked it,
Yeah.
but I think this is a better way to go, and it's another. They talked about they took inspiration from a lot of what Marvel did in saying, hey, these are our properties. Why don't we do something with them? And yeah, they got bought by Disney, but they saw that and said, okay, well now they're an inline system now.
Yeah.
It's developed, produced, and distributed all in house.
Mm.
So that's it provides a greater sense of autonomy, and with that also comes the risk of if you lose, then it's on you.
Yeah.
There's nobody else to take the fall for this. But I think this is a good thing in that it's more. This is stuff that might not have been done otherwise, because these are projects that they would have said, we want this done this way, and other studios would have gone, yeah, but we think we're going to do this with it, and we're going to bring on these people, and we're going to change all this stuff around because their vision isn't what you guys want. And one thing that I think it was Sean that talked about, he said he said the biggest problem with video game adaptations into movies is the wrong people looking at how to make it the wrong way. Which was, how do you take something that's 80 hours of gameplay and condense that down into a 2-hour movie? And the problem is you can't. So don't retell the story in the movie.
Right.
Do something else. What was it he said? He said you write from the same ethos as the game. Take that same spirit and write a different story.
Right.
And I think thank God somebody finally said it.
Right. And they have enough franchises to do it.
They do.
If anyone does, they do.
Take a look at what God of War could be now.
Oh my God.
Like that's your money.
God of War could be on Game of Thrones level for fan base on HBO or Netflix or any of these channels.
Yeah. Like if you put out a solid, and that's another thing. Like I could see that as a multiple season miniseries. That's
Dude, it could be a show like Vikings or something. Like it doesn't even have to be a miniseries. I agree, it could totally be that, but you could stretch that out. Like it doesn't have to be, his journey could be long. If that makes sense.
That's true. That's true. It's just
it's ongoing. I mean, he's going from. You could have the third or fourth season do a complete jump where he goes from one you know, mythology to another.
Yeah, like they did when they
Exactly.
with what wound up being God of War 4, but they just
Yep.
didn't title it
Yeah.
that.
Exactly. Do 2 or 3 seasons in each, and then fast forward, suddenly he's in Egypt. You know, it would make it interesting. I mean,
Boy, that would be
there's,
fun.
yeah, there's so many, you know, there's so many routes you can go with this. And like you said, it could totally just be a miniseries where they do it like once every other year.
Yeah.
Um,
Just here's 6 episodes,
yeah,
and then take a year off and then come back. They've
right.
I mean, between that Twisted Metal, and think of the animated stuff they could do.
Charted, you know,
I mean, Uncharted has Indiana. I mean, Uncharted is just Indiana Jones, which is
right.
great. Like we don't have that
Sure.
really right now.
Last of Us could totally be a series.
Last of Us is their big drama series. That's the leftovers. That's the big high drama, like Walking Dead kind of
Yeah.
series.
Well, I mean, you have Resident Evil too, but I guess that's Capcom.
That's Capcom.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I haven't played Ghost of Tsushima, but that looks really cool. Like, there's so many different things
you could do something with that. There are plenty of opportunities, and to say nothing of animated series.
Right.
I mean, it's really interesting to me that they're saying, well, we're going to take our IPs and we're going to do them our way.
I mean, yeah, Shadow of the Colossus could make an amazing animated movie.
God, just think about that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Just a 3 or 4 part thing. Just going from one to the next to the next.
Yeah.
Expand that mythology just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I say this. If this is successful, then I have 2 words: Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
I mean, the literally limitless potential there.
I do have to admit, that's the one series I've never been able to fully get into.
That's understandable.
I mean, I've tried so many times. My buddy's playing the Final Fantasy 14 right now.
Oh, the MMO, okay.
Yeah, and I'm just like, that is no. Can you play ESO? I'm like asking anything else. I just can't get into Final Fantasy. And the crazy thing is they're all different stories.
Yeah, they're all. There are very few that are like direct sequels.
I just can't do it. I don't know why. I don't know I've tried so many, and it's just. But yes, that could totally be a series that people would eat that up.
And you could just it could, and that's the thing where it could be about anybody.
Right.
That is a completely. You don't have to adapt a game. That's just here's a world. Go. Like, pick one. Whether it's the world from 7, whether it's Spira or I can't remember the one from 9, and that makes me crazy. But just carry on. I imagine they'd probably set it in Evilus, but just do what you want with it. Like it's every world is its own thing. Tell your own story. That could work. That could be a franchise all on its own. You could do movies, you could do TV, you could do animation in particular.
Yeah.
You could do shorts. Have a Chocobo and Mog kids show.
Right.
Like there are so many opportunities just for that alone.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it'll be interesting. Twisted Metal was not an announcement that I expected.
Yeah.
But hey, good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Sly Cooper, Crash Bandicoot. These Scream animated series.
Yes.
Without any question whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see where this goes.
Yeah.
And then what you were talking about earlier with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they got Kerry Skoglund, who did some episodes for The Handmaid's Tale, did I think the pilot for Nosferatu, the newer one, and she's done a lot of pilot work.
Yeah.
Is gonna direct it as a 6-part miniseries, and I think that's again, that's a solid length. That tells a story.
Yeah.
That's a season in the streaming age. 6 episodes.
Oh yeah.
Easily. And they've even talked about getting Emily Van Camp and Daniel Bruhl to come back.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. I mean, that means it's going to dovetail a lot into Civil War, really.
Right. Well, it makes sense. I mean, he's a big villain. Real fast. Did you see who's in talk? Who's in talks? Or not? I'm sorry, not who's in talks, but who's rumored to be Wolverine?
Oh, I don't want to know.
Well, one of them's a joke, and one of them is a joke with a bunch of signatures, and the other one is real, like big time rumor. One of them is Henry Cavill.
Again,
The other
Jesus.
is Danny DeVito.
Okay, so which one's the joke?
Henry Cavill. No, I'm just kidding. Danny DeVito is someone signed a petition. I think he even signed it too. I read to make him.
I can
the new
see
Wolverine.
that. Yeah, I can understand that. Sure.
Yeah, but Henry Cavill apparently is being looked at and talked to be the new Wolverine. I can see it. He looks like Wolverine.
I'm just let's put Wolverine to bed for 3 or 4 years. Like
that is not happening. First of all, well, yeah, no, I think it will. Well, actually, let's take a step back. X-Men in general are being put on hold for a few years. Disney's not going to do anything until their next phase, right?
Well, I mean, Dark Phoenix is in 2 weeks, and then New Mutants comes out next year.
Right, but
tell me, I would not be surprised if they decide that New Mutants is how they're going to introduce the X-Men into Phase 5.
So
I
don't think so. I think they want to start with a clean slate.
I think that is a clean slate. New Mutants is its own thing.
No. I think they'll want to start with a clear vision, a clean slate. Like, for example, Kevin Feige is heading the X-Men stuff.
Right.
With it. I think that he will want a clear vision, a clear path. I think he will want a clean slate when it comes to X-Men in this universe. I think Phoenix, they're just pushing out there.
Right,
they're
that's
putting Sophie Turner in front of it to be like, hey, everyone likes Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
Well, we thought you did before this year,
yeah.
But they're not even putting X-Men in that title.
No, Dark Phoenix. Well, and they didn't to be like Fox never did to begin with. Like Dark Phoenix is the end of that set of films, and
I truly believe they're just pushing that out there.
I agree. I don't know that
New Mutants. I'm honest. Besides us, I don't know anyone that talks about that. I don't know anyone that even knows that exists.
Well, because it's been delayed and postponed and all this stuff, but they'd never even done the reshoots. I
don't see that as their Iron Man, though. I don't see that as their new beginning for the X-Men. I'm sorry, I don't. I think whatever they are working on, Wolverine will definitely be the major player in it.
No, I disagree.
You don't think so?
Because okay, I'll give you an example. Iron Man. Iron Man is my example.
But they did Iron Man because they didn't have the rights to the biggest people in Marvel.
Sure.
So, of course, they went with Avengers, and Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor are the big ones.
Okay, 10 years ago? Like, I think that's...
Sure. Out of the Avengers, those were the big three. They've always been the big three.
Yeah, but, I mean, that's the way I look at this. I think that if Disney was gonna do... If Disney was not going to include the New Mutants in their next phase, I think that either would have been scrapped because they would have just eaten the loss, or they would have done they would have
complete movie,
or they would have gone ahead and just shoved it out as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't know what they're doing.
I'm telling you, man.
I can't believe that that's the beginning of their how we're introducing mutants.
I absolutely can. Look at how they introduced Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
I guess that would just seem like such a wet fart to me.
I disagree. I think the only reason that we think that is based on the one trailer that we had, which was cool, and the fact that it's got so many production issues and all that kind of stuff. No.
That would be such an underwhelming.
I disagree.
That would be I don't know. That'd be such an underwhelming way to introduce them to the MCU.
I think just because it doesn't have the giant marquee names that people want to jizz their pants over does not mean it's gonna suck. I disagree with that.
I think that would be such an underwhelming way to introduce the X-Men. They bought a company. They spent billions of dollars, not just for that, but for nerds, that's the big selling point, right? And to be like, well, New Mutants is how we're introducing them, a movie that we had no control over.
Well,
It,
they did that.
it would just be such a, I
Well, a
don't know.
movie they didn't have any control over, but now they can go back and do whatever they want. They've got a year
Yes,
to go
I
back.
personally thought they'd push that on Netflix and be like, all right, here's the movie. Now we're gonna be working on our own thing. See you in a few years.
And I think that if they weren't going to use that in whatever phase we're going to be in at that point, I think
Yeah.
that's exactly what they would have done. Instead, they now have this thing that principal photography is done, but that's it. Like, it still needs reshoots, it still needs post work. They're going to remake this movie. It's not
Yeah.
going to be what we saw. I think that they'll keep the tone because there was a positive reaction to the overall tone of it. But I think this movie is going to be, if it, let me say this, they're either going to remake it or scrap it entirely. And we're not going to know for another 8 months. But I think they're going to remake it. I think they are going to I think their reshoots are basically just going to be remaking that project.
Yeah, well,
And
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll find out in a few years. I don't know. I don't like that idea.
Because it's too much of a dangling X-Men, like, it doesn't fit anywhere. You know, Dark Phoenix is the end of Fox's X-Men movies. Like, it is.
I think, like you said, well, maybe you didn't say this, but I honestly just think it'll be a standalone movie just called New Mutants.
But then, okay, so you do that, and then when you introduce mutants a few years later, you hope that people forgot about it?
I think they have no idea what they want to do with it. That's why it hasn't come out yet.
I think they remake it, and that's the intro point. I do.
Yeah, maybe. Well, we'll find out, I guess. We'll see. We'll see what they do with it. But you're really kidding yourself if you don't think they're looking for a new Wolverine right now.
Oh, I have no doubt that
he is the Mickey Mouse of the X-Men universe.
Oh, I have no doubt that they're looking for a new Wolverine.
Oh, I thought you were saying they weren't gonna like they're just gonna not put Wolverine in it. Any of these X-Men movies.
No, dear God, no, not. I'm just thinking that I'm just going the other way of saying that I think it's kind of nuts to think that the only way X-Men works is if they introduce Wolverine in the first 10 seconds of the first movie.
I just think they're going to be so quick to want to throw him in there. But you're right. I don't know. I liked the idea of Zac Efron being Wolverine, but apparently he's going to be in the Guardians, so that would not work out.
Yeah. Well, he could just be Wolverine from an alternate universe. Problem solved.
There you go. I think Henry Cavill is actually not a bad idea. He's built like Wolverine. He I didn't think he was the worst in Man of Steel. I just didn't think he was playing Superman. He wasn't playing Clark Kent.
He's too tall.
Well, I mean, you can say that about Hugh Jackman. That's but yeah, it would be cooler to see a more shorter Wolverine. But I
don't know. Just give me Tom Cruise, it'll be fine.
Oh God, no! God, no! I don't want Tom Cruise as Wolverine. He's too crazy. See, there'd be too many. There'd be too many issues on set. I think with him and all those other people, the egos would not be well together.
I kind of want to see that just because I want to see the Church of Scientology try to take on Disney.
Oh God! No.
Like that's a war I kind of want to see because I think that because the Church of Scientology took on the IRS and the IRS balked.
Yeah.
So I think if I don't know, I think Disney could take them.
Yeah. That would be interesting. I would love that. That'd be fun to watch. Yeah. Oh man. Or Danny DeVito. Let's just do it. Let's someone get the money together, make a movie, put it out on Netflix. We won't call it the Wolverine. We'll have to get around copyrights. That'd be funny.
You'd have to call it what, the short Canadian killer?
Exactly. Exactly.
Furry rabid Canadian. There you go.
Oh yeah.
Danny DeVito stars as furry rabid Canadian.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Oh man, by the way, did you see the book I sent you?
Yeah, I did. I saw that.
Oh my God, I want that so bad, but it's so expensive.
Well, look what you're paying for.
Man, it's gorgeous. I don't own any nice books. Like nice leather bound books.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is a path I can't go down. This is definitely a path I can't go down.
Yeah,
But
well.
that looks just doesn't it? Okay, so let me ask you. You read a lot, right? You love reading.
Sure. I tend to read a lot of the same stuff over and over again, though.
Okay, so your library, is it full of paperback, hardback,
Digital.
digital? Okay.
Yeah. Just because digital is cheaper.
I was wondering because anytime I've gotten a hardback book, I don't read the hardback. I always read the paperback, but it looks better as a hardback in the library, like when you put it on a shelf.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's
Is that
why.
what people do? This is such a dumb question, but I just need to get it out there. Do people buy the hardback books just to put them in a library so it looks good on a shelf, and then read the paperback because all the it's just all bent to hell?
Probably.
Is that
Like,
what happens?
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure that plenty of people like actually, read the hardback that they buy.
Yeah.
But I
Because the one I sent you, looks like because the way it's built, you could totally go through this book and it's not gonna bend it's not gonna look like crap going through it, but it's just that they're so heavy. I mean, you would have to sit there and read on like the dining room table. You couldn't. I don't know. I guess you could read in bed, but it'd be heavy as hell, you
well,
know.
it's I mean, it looks like a coffee table book. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I guess I didn't. Oh, really? I didn't think about it like that. It didn't look like a coffee table book, but I guess I don't know. I didn't put. You're right, actually. That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like the World of Ice and Fire. Man, but it's beautiful. That is a gorgeous looking book.
It's. I mean, you're not wrong. You're very not wrong.
It's fucking gorgeous. Apparently, they're making. By the way, people listening, I should have mentioned this a minute ago. I sent over what is it? Was it Folio Society?
Yeah.
Which I guess who do a lot of these fancy smancy editions of books, did a Game of Thrones, and apparently they're doing all of the George R. R. Martin series for the Song of Ice and Fire, and it's one of those where it's big leather, it's illustrated, and it's just gorgeous, and you know, it's I guess Martin supports it and blah 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 blah. But I was just looking it over and it just looks gorgeous, and that's just a path I can't go down. I think I talked about it last week about uh, getting the Kindle. Um, that's a better path, I think. Uh, than, than I don't know, maybe some down the road when I have disposable income. But man, that looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, moving on. Um, all right, where were we? So we talked about TV. No real video game news this week, right?
Not particularly. No.
There
Didn't
was
seem
a game
like it.
came out called Dauntless that I was curious if you tried it. It's free to play.
I've
Um,
I've heard about it, but just in seeing like, oh, that's a thing, and that's the extent of my knowledge.
yeah, it's like a free to play Monster Hunter game essentially that looks like Fortnite. So
Okay.
I think that's the route they're going. Is they're like it's very cartoony. It's Monster Hunter. You kill big animals and you wear their heads, and you have to keep killing them to get better stuff. And you play with your friends. So sounds actually not like a bad game. We need more like this. Hey, if Fortnite's gonna be like that, the the battle royale that's free and all that, and started that whole thing, maybe this will catch on too. Um, I'm waiting for the big RPGs that are free to come out, that are free to play.
Yeah.
Like, give me some Elder Scrolls or something like that that's free to play. But I don't know. It looked pretty neat. I want to check it out. I imagine I want to start playing some more games soon. Here, it's just like I said. Right now, I'm in just such a mode of reading and Audible and stuff like that. So I haven't really picked up anything. But that looks free. I'm probably going to play a little bit later this week. But it looks cool. But yeah, there was no real video game news outside of the TV stuff we talked about.
Yeah.
I know that there was the news about what we talked about already, though. I think last week about the senator with the anti-loot box stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we don't need to go back into that. Well, let's get into some reviews. I mean, you've already kind of talked about John Wick 3. Is there anything else you wanted to say about it?
Nah, just go see it. It's really good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's not. They kept talking about like it's a hard R. No, Hellboy was a hard R. This is not. You know,
Okay.
like there's some. I mean, aside from the violence,
Right.
it's not gory like Hellboy was. That to me is what's a hard R.
Yeah.
This, I mean, a lot of people get shot and stabbed, but it's not gory. It's not excessive.
Oh yeah.
The scene, sometimes it's almost funny, just in the sense of like, well, that was a little bit much, John.
Oh yeah.
But,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's that, and that's another thing that's great is that there's one fight where there are intentional comedic elements.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, I see what you're doing here. It helps to break up the monotony of how it can be.
Yeah.
But that's what makes these movies great, is that there is that balance.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, great. We've got this big action sequence here. Well, we'll have a big action, and I think that's why the one sequence that I'm talking about, kind of early on, it feels like it's long, because it is just a straight action sequence for a long time. And it's not broken up with any of the kind of like, oh, and here's a laugh, or here's a little interesting bit, like a side eye somewhere or something.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, again, that's a very small criticism, all things considered.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely check it out. Watch the second one before you watch this one, but definitely watch this one.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Let's see here.
We really the only things that I can think of left to talk about. We'll get to Game of Thrones here in a few minutes, because boy, are we going to talk about Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But we also had Money in the Bank.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't watch Money in the Bank.
You didn't miss a whole lot.
Yeah.
A lot of it not particularly memorable. They started with because I don't count the pre-show. Sorry, the Usos and Rowan and Brian. I don't care. I was like, all right, fine, that was a thing, whatever.
Yeah.
But Rowan and Daniel Bryan are carrying around their leather belts for the WWE SmackDown tag titles, even though he made a whole big deal about a hemp belt for the WWE title. I guess the tag belts just really aren't that important to Daniel, but that's, I don't know. But that was a thing. I didn't watch it. I didn't care. Like, it had no. It was kind of pointless to me. But which is unfortunate, because all four of those guys are fantastic. But I was like, this match really doesn't seem to mean anything. So that was the thing. They started with the women's Money in the Bank match, and it was a good, solid Money in the Bank match. And thankfully James Ellsworth did not show up to win this one too, because that would have just been horrible. Why would they do that twice? But because they did it once, that's why. But Bayley won it in the end, which was a good call, and the crowd was into it. They were like, "Oh my god, they're gonna do something with Bayley finally! Yay!"
Yeah.
And then I honestly couldn't tell you a lot of what else was after that, because that was the problem with a lot of like the first chunk of that show. You had the women's Money in the Bank match, and then you had like the little weird stuff that happened occasionally. I mean, you had the Cruiserweight title match not being on the pre-show, which was a nice plus. But it was also very short.
Okay.
And that was kind of unfortunate. But I mean, Tony Nese, Arya Daivari, they put on a Cruiserweight title match, which is always good. They're always solid matches. Would like to have seen a little more development in this one, but they were given, you could clearly tell, like, they were given X amount of time, and that was it. So they did what they did. Nese retained. It was a good call. And I'm trying to think of what else there was before we get to Becky's consecutive title defenses, and I can't really think of anything. But she beat Lacey Evans in an awkward... Oh, I remember what happened. The Miz and Shane had a steel cage match where Shane got out of a pinfall by putting his foot on the ropes.
Oh, okay.
Now, I'm going to go back and say The Miz and Shane had a steel cage match with no disqualifications, and the referee broke up a pinfall attempt because Shane got his foot on the ropes. Now, that would have been bad enough by itself, if not for the fact that earlier in the same match, he rightfully did not break up a submission attempt because somebody got into the ropes and made a point of saying, no, there are no rope breaks. So this was a bizarre bit of what in the hell is going on here, and I hope that they address it at some point, because they didn't on Raw last night, and that was weird.
Yeah.
Boy, that got awkward. That got awkward real fast.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whose fault that was. I'm gonna lay that on Shane for forgetting he was in a cage and not kicking out like he was probably supposed to.
Yeah.
And then the ref just kind of having to go, shit, this is not how this is gonna work, so I'm gonna take the heat for this. Or, they really just have to do a bit where they say, oh yeah, by the way, Shane paid off the official to be biased or whatever. Fine, that works, but they need to explain that one. I really did like the finish though, where Shane was climbing out and Miz grabbed him by the shirt, and Shane just slid out of his shirt and hit the floor. It was great, because I thought like that was actually just kind of genius. So I'm fine with that.
Well, he is the best in the world.
Yes,
and he's going to be at the Saudi Arabia event, which is going to be better.
Oh no.
Or equal to WrestleMania.
No. Look, I get it.
Do I sound like I have a gun to my head while I'm saying this?
No, because you're not in Saudi Arabia.
Right. But Jesus. When I heard that, because I haven't watched wrestling in a while, and I'm like, that is the most Saudi Arabian shit I've ever heard.
Yeah, where they're
that was in the contract where you're like, you have to advertise this as if good as or better than WrestleMania.
Yeah, even though it's a glorified house show where nothing matters at all. Because nothing from those shows has meant anything except for the Miz Shane being the best in the world. That's the only thing of any actual consequence that's ever come out of any of those shows.
Oh yeah.
And I really, but the thing is, I find that hilarious because he has grabbed that and just run with it in the most perfectly obnoxious way possible. Yeah. He owns that, and it's great. And then they had Baron Corbin copy it with, whoever's in the ring having to read out his list of, failures. Basically. Yeah. Here are these things that Baron Corbin used to do, and here are these things you don't like that he actually did. And it's like this. It's old. It's boring. I get it. It's decent heel work, but Shane does it better. So, which is sad. But say that happened. Mysterio beat Samoa Joe for the United States title, even though Samoa Joe's shoulders weren't down. There was another awkward bit of officiating. Not even close. So that was awkward. Becky beat Lacey Evans to retain the Raw Women's Championship after the referee forgot to count when Lacey rolled Becky up for 4 or 5 seconds. So that was awkward too. And then Becky cinched in the disarmer. Lacey tapped out. Okay, fine, I get it. Makes sense. But boy, that roll up lasted for a long time. And then Charlotte came down and was like, hey, no, you're fighting me right now. Okay, great. So, of course, Charlotte won, so she's the SmackDown Women's Champ. And then she and Lacey beat up Becky, and Bayley came down to help out her friend and help beat up Lacey and threw Charlotte into the turnbuckle. And then cashed in on Charlotte and beat her to become the first ever, at least first in this era. No, first ever, because there haven't been women's tag champs before, I don't think. Women's Grand Slam champion, picking up the SmackDown Women's title. So, yay for Bayley. It was a good night. And then there were a couple of segments that kind of bookended the men's championship matches, where it was here's Roman Reigns and Elias, where it starts out with Roman Reigns walking around backstage and Elias creeping up on him with his guitar over his shoulder, like he's in a Dudley Do-Right cartoon. Hits him with the guitar, comes out, does his thing, insults the crowd, leaves. Roman stopped him at the entrance ramp, knocked him down the entrance ramp, threw him in the ring, spear, 1, 2, 3. Fine. Like a quick little squash segment just to kind of reset the crowd. Okay. I get it. That makes sense. They had the men's championship matches. Styles and Rollins went on first and had a tremendous match. It was a damn good match. At one point, AJ countered the stomp into a Styles clash, which was insane. Didn't obviously pick up the win. Rollins retained, but a damn good match. You know, the idea of what you put these two together. You know, when they put Styles and Nakamura together for WrestleMania, and everybody was like, "This match is going to be amazing," and then it wasn't. It was kind of that fear again of like, you put Rollins and Styles together, they should put on an amazing match. Except this time they did, so that was a good thing. And then you had Kofi and Kevin Owens, who had, you know, they were in a tough spot to follow that match, really.
Okay.
But they did. They put on a solid match. At one point towards the end, Kevin Owens ripped off Kofi's shoes for some reason. Not entirely sure why.
Wait, what happened?
Kevin Owens, like, tore off Kofi's shoes.
Oh, well, Kofi's big into, like, shoes.
Okay.
Like, that's his thing on Instagram and social medias. He's always doing reviews of new shoes and stuff.
Okay, so I guess it was a nod to that, I guess.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Nobody else got that, though. Like, that did not make sense to anybody. But Kofi picked up the win. Again, a good, solid match to help establish Kofi as WWE champ.
Yeah.
And then you had two things that didn't make sense. The first of which was the Lucha House Party segment, where they came out and they were gonna have a big Lucha party, and then who did they send down to beat up 3 minority people? But Lars Sullivan.
Oh, he's okay. I thought he
no, he was fined and sent
he's still in it. He's still wrestling.
He was like, yeah, he's been fined and sent to sensitivity training, which apparently includes beating up 3 small Latino men.
Yeah, they didn't. Well, I mean, that's not his fault. That's the writer's fault. But yeah, they shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, but still, it's like, oh, that's a boldly stupid booking decision. Okay, sure.
But this is Vince McMahon, dude. There's some stories I read this week that it's really made me question watching WWE anymore.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I can turn my head to and just think, a few more years he'll be out of it, and it's not something we have to deal with. And but some of these you can't ignore.
Yeah, the things we read about Ashley Massaro's everything that she went through, like that's.
How do you? I mean, that's just totally. Inexcusable. Obviously, tragedy that happened. It should have never happened, and he should have made it a point that it should never happen again. But just kind of, and again, this is stuff we read on Twitter or whatever. I don't know the full. I mean, apparently that was from a. I don't know. It's one of those things where when you read something like that, if it is true or whatnot, I didn't do too much research, but that's just, to try and keep someone quiet about that that's where, like, as much as he's a mad genius about what he does and his story's super interesting, that's where I'm like, okay, that's where I have to quit. I just can't support at all what you're doing. Yeah.
And the most troubling thing about something like that is if that's not something that's it's extreme and it's horrifying, but you look at that and you look at everything else that happens in that world and you think, this is unfortunately not out of the realm of possibility.
Yes, exactly.
And that's the worst part about it. Is not just it's something that you look at and you go, this really might actually have happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that culture is there.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, like, I've seen a lot of behind the scenes stuff, like Triple H is becoming increasingly frustrated with the program. Fans, I mean, I've seen a lot of people cancel their service after this week's pay-per-view. Just the
Well,
product in general, people are frustrated.
well, and the problem was, like, Money in the Bank was a halfway decent show, and especially everything with Bayley. Like, had they ended on that high note, it would have been amazing. People would have said, this show was actually really awesome. Instead,
Yeah.
they ended on the men's Money in the Bank match, where there had been no... It's like, okay, fine, we find Sami Zayn, like...
Can you clear something up on me?
Sure.
I've seen a lot of pictures of what's his name? I'm so sorry. Who was in the match?
Okay, it was, I honestly couldn't even tell you, because there was so little, like, genuine build to this. There was Ali, there was Corbin, there was Finn Balor, Ricochet, there was supposed to have been Sami Zayn, but he got...
Did Ali win? Because I saw him carrying the briefcase, but then I'm confused because at the end it was Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, he did not win. He climbed all the way to the top and grabbed the briefcase, and then Brock Lesnar's music hit, so he stood up there for like 15 seconds looking like an idiot. Brock came down, knocked a ladder onto a couple of cameramen, looked like it knocked one of them out, because Brock doesn't give a shit about anybody or anything. Knocked Ali off the ladder, climbed up, and took down the briefcase.
Oh, okay, so he wasn't holding the briefcase. I don't know why I keep seeing a photo of him holding the briefcase. So, okay. Yeah, and I guess I was reading that he was supposed to win until about a week ago. They changed it.
That's a long time for plans to change, really, considering a lot of plans like that are kind of like day of.
Well, I guess what I don't know, I was listening to some podcast and they were talking about I guess the dirt sheets were saying about a week ago they introduced the idea of Brock winning. And I'm sure that it was kind of a last minute decision to actually pull the trigger on it, but that kind of stuff makes, as someone who went away for a little bit and wants to come back, obviously all the behind the scenes stuff with Vince and all that other stuff is really what's making me stay away.
Yeah.
But creative wise, if I'm just talking about that, dude, the stuff with Brock, that's immediately going to make me stay away.
Yeah, no, I agree. And there were a ton of people that looked at this and just said, "Oh, great, more of this nonsense." And they're canceling their subscriptions and they are staying away, and they will continue to stay away.
And what sucks is he's going to point to Kofi and he's going to point to Seth Rollins. He's going to point to the women's division and go, "This is why the numbers are going down."
Yeah,
when those are the best things about wrestling right now.
Yeah,
the WWE.
Like, Brock should have stayed gone. I would have not cared. I would have been fine if Baron Corbin had won it again, because at the end of the match, like, he was tearing through people, and you remember, like, oh yeah, Corbin is as big as Braun Strowman. He's just not as wide. Like, Baron could be a monster heel if they let him. And I would be okay with that. I hate I hate the vest. I hate the outfit. I hate all of that. Yeah. For all of the...
Is he still in that?
He's still... Like, he doesn't wear the vest anymore, but that's the only thing that's changed.
Like, he needs to just go back to, like, jeans and a t-shirt. But like, for example, I don't know, like Andrade, like, someone like that would have...
That was it. He was in the match. He was the other one. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh man, Andrade and Balor had a moment, and it was
keep going in those fresh directions.
Yes.
Keep going with the Kofi. Keep going with stuff like that.
Yes.
Hell, even give Kevin Owens something every once in a while. Like, go in that direction. Stay away from Brock Lesnar. Stay away from Triple H coming back to fight some 80-year-old person. Stay away from that kind of crap.
Yeah, but they're gonna go to Saudi Arabia, and Goldberg's gonna fight the Undertaker.
Oh, God, it's just so.
Yeah.
Don't care about any of that. Obviously, I didn't watch the last one. Not going to watch this one. That's absolutely one of the shows I'm boycotting.
Fair.
It, especially hearing all this stuff with them going overseas, and I just, man.
Yeah, it's but hey, Double or Nothing is on Saturday, I think.
There you go.
Friday or Saturday? I think it's Saturday.
We haven't talked about that, man. That's some big news.
Man, that was huge news. Not just to see, like, well, we knew AEW was going to have a TV deal. I was expecting, something like Ring of Honor's TV deal or Impact's, where it's this network that not everybody's going to have. Like, it's going to be on, like, Oxygen or something.
Yeah.
Just this network of, like, okay, really? We're going to do that? All right. Or, like, NBC Universal, which is a channel, and nobody knew that until I just told you that. Or Paramount. Paramount has an actual network. I'll bet nobody knew that either.
Yeah.
But, something like that. And instead, it's like, oh, hey, by the way, TNT is going to try to be relevant again. And you know what? I think this is a big step in the right direction. I get it. They've got the NBA, and that's cool. They have that and reruns of stuff from 6 years ago. That's it. That's TNT. That's all they got.
Yeah.
So for them to even tweet out, "Hey, we're back in the wrestling business," I'm like, okay, they know where they're coming from. They know their history.
Oh yeah. Oh,
and
they had the flames and everything.
I love that. I did.
Man, and maybe and this might be the shot in the arm the WWE needs.
I think that's part of why Vince is. I think that's part of why creative is as bad as it is right now, because Vince is trying to refight the Monday Night Wars when that's not what this is going to be. They're not going head to head. This is not that. This is different. This is new. This is the 21st century version of that. And there is very much nothing 21st century about Vince's creative process at all.
Yeah.
So I think, he's relaunching the XFL, for Christ's sake. That's, God, you want to talk about something else that's going to lose him billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
But because it's not going to work. It's going to suck, and it's going to tank, and it's going to cost billions, and it's going to do the same thing to WWE that it did back in, 2000?
Right.
It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot. And AEW is fresh. AEW is new. AEW is different. And especially once we see how their TV product is actually going to be structured, what it's actually going to look like.
Yeah.
It's going to be on a different night. It's going to be doing its own thing. It's going to be a viable alternative. Is it going to be direct competition like WCW was? I think that is way too early to call.
Yeah.
But it's already proven to be a viable alternative. Imagine what happens when they get on TV. And listen, if TNT puts on a show that draws any ratings, it's a success for them.
Yes, absolutely. And if they can put up, because a lot of these people are coming from New Japan, they're coming from Ring of Honor,
some Impact.
If they can put on any of, because the way they've wrestled in New Japan, it's almost like a dance.
Yeah.
With a lot of these people, like you see Jericho in the WWE, but when you see him against Omega,
it's different.
It's so different.
It is. And the fact that Jericho can switch styles like that speaks to his talent level by itself.
Absolutely. So if they can harness any of that and put it on something like TNT, which is in more homes than the USA Network, it could really be something and really give a boost of energy. And it's because we all know Triple H can be on that level too with NXT. NXT, especially the pay-per-views, have been some of the best wrestling. It's on par with the stuff that I've seen in New Japan. Hopefully it gives them that boost where it's like, let him take over, let him get a little bit more control, give us something equal as that. Let me ask you, what did you think of the 24/7 belt that McFoley brought out to a bunch of boos?
The crowd goes mild. I've never heard just such a dud. Here's the problem. It is the hardcore title, but they're not allowed to call it that. That's exactly it's exactly what it is, because the hardcore
Here's
title.
What they should have called it.
They called the hardcore title. Just say we're bringing back the hardcore title.
Make it green, like they did.
Yes.
The same W that they put on every other belt.
Yeah.
And call it the wild card title. And it basically just means that you can go for that belt 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
It would have been better than what they did, which is they took the 24/7 logo from the WWE Network and they put that on the belt.
And as much as I have been an advocate of saying do something different besides the big W on belts,
this is horrible.
It would have made way more sense if it was called the wild card belt.
It would have looked better if they just put a clock face on it.
Yeah, exactly. Just a clock that spun like that. That would have been fantastic. But yes, anything else besides the 24/7 logo?
Because that's also the only thing on that belt. There's nothing on the side plates at all. They're completely blank, and I get it. You're not going to have time to change them out. So then make them a static design. You know,
It looks so bad.
it's terrible.
Uh,
Oh, it's
they
awful.
should just made it look like the cruiserweight belt and put a W on it and made it green.
Yeah.
And you would have, it. And unfortunately, it just looks like it's going to be the jobber belt,
Which here's the thing though, if they
which
can
is
have,
fine.
let them have fun with it. I'm
No,
okay
yeah,
with.
no. I mean,
Yeah.
I see it as the belt where we can't get so and so on in a match tonight. We're gonna see them behind the scenes running around like cartoon characters, chasing each other,
Yes.
pinning each other. That's perfect.
Yes.
Because the best part of wrestling, as we've always said, is the part that's not about wrestling. So have it where they're just behind the scenes and they're scrambling. It gives them a face to do something, and and have fun on social media for that week.
That's the thing. This is going to wind up being the Twitter and Instagram belt, which I am fine with. This is all going to be about. I mean, hell, R-Truth is already R-Truth and Drake Maverick already are feuding over this on social media, and it's great because it's goofy. And it should be goofy. This is not a thing to be taken seriously. But it's a way to get yourself out there. It is. This is going to be the internet title. Yeah. In everything but name only. And hopefully in name only, because oh my god, that thing is atrocious.
Yeah, I think they need to change the look of it. And I'm sure they will. Eventually.
It does. It looks awful. It's terrible. And I mean worse than the Universal Championship awful.
I don't understand how that passed any kind of...
Because Vince McMahon probably looked at it and said, perfect. And that was it. The boss has spoken.
Yeah.
But,
it's just... yeah.
And especially with all the build-up. Mick Foley came out and said 3 letters. R-A-W. We have to get back to being Raw. And I was like, yes, give me a little bit of TV-14, just a shade. And that's kind of what this is going to be. But God, just call it the hardcore title. Like, they should have just called it that and said, that's what this is. This is going to be everywhere. Fine. I'm okay with that. The wild card title would have been okay. Oh God, I hate the wild card rule. I hate it. I hate the wild card rule because it's always going to be Roman Reigns and 3 other people.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And that annoys me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, when I heard about the wild card rule, I was like, oh, they're just trying to get where their big people can go to either show like they did with John Cena.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. Get Vince McMahon off there, and you'll probably get me back in. But until then, it just does not look pretty. Did you see that when you quit the WWE Network?
Yeah.
What it says?
Yeah, be legit, don't quit, with a picture of Sasha Banks. Yeah, that's not petty at all. That's not petty bullshit at all.
I don't. Yeah, it's crazy. Oh. Anyway, well, I think that's it for Money in the Bank, right?
Yeah. And,
man, season finale Game of Thrones, of course, full of spoilers.
Big, massive, huge spoiler alert. Yes, the night is dark and full of spoilers.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about spoilers for this episode. I'm probably going to dive into a little bit of spoilers for the whole series because we'll just kind of wrap everything up.
Yeah.
And yeah, so if you haven't seen it, well, I don't know what you're doing. If you're a fan of the show, you should have seen it already because this is one of those where you got to see it the night of, at the very least Monday. But man, you're going to have it spoiled. So we are going to spoil it all. If you haven't seen it, if you haven't seen the series in general, don't let the last season, online presence scare you.
Yes.
Go see it. It's fantastic. It's one of those. I think it's one of those Seinfeld situations, Lost situations. Even The Sopranos. A lot of people did not like the ending or the last season of Sopranos.
Yeah, but the problem with The Sopranos was it literally just ended.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. There's a lot of people. Same with Seinfeld. There's a lot of people who were not happy with the last season of The Sopranos, especially the last episode. But looking back, no one ever talks about that anymore. They talk about The Sopranos as this great series.
True.
So
yeah, and nobody looks at Seinfeld and says it was a show about nothing. Remember the last episode where the gang got arrested because they were standing around doing nothing?
Right, right. But it will go down as probably one of the best comedies ever, even though I haven't really seen much of it. But you know what I'm saying? Like a show that is super, super popular.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. It's one of those, like, if you still haven't seen Game of Thrones, you just go watch it. Now it's all out there. Now you can just binge it. And I actually think you'll probably enjoy it way more if you binge it all at once, because you won't have the years of speculation, the
True.
years of hyping yourself up to some grand finale that will never be as big as it is in your head. Um, and I think that might help it. Because that's a lot of the complaints that I heard about this episode in particular, was it wasn't as you look at episodes like Battle of the Bastards and stuff like that. Um, this was not on that scale. This was definitely what would you call it in a book, an epilogue?
This was, yes, there was the first half of this episode was a finale, and I would go the first third of this episode was basically a finale, and then the last 2/3 did kind of seem like an epilogue in a way. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't think it was bad. This finale makes
Well,
it,
I liked
and
it. I enjoyed it.
I did too. This goes back to what I said last week. This made narrative sense.
Yeah.
There was not going to be, nobody was going to try to take on the
I,
entire army of the Unsullied and the
right.
Dothraki that were left. Like, it would have been insane.
I think we both are on the exact same page when it comes to this last season should have been stretched to 2 seasons. I would have loved if the end of let's say this last season was split into two, and they were longer. They were 10 episodes each. Or maybe one was 10 episodes and the next one was 6 episodes. One season, imagine it ending with her turn.
Yes.
And then you had 6 episodes left.
Yes.
And you had the 10 episodes to kind of build to that.
Yes.
I think that would have squashed so many people's problems, because anyone complaining about her turn not in character, well, no, I shouldn't say that. I think most people can agree that it was rushed, and that it was harder for some people to see the turn than others, when this was just such a beloved character, and they didn't have that much. Um, they had foreshadowing and all that stuff, but they didn't have much of her. Like, could she really do it? Because there were so many things this season where it was like everything was going against her. We saw her lose everything, but it was done so fast.
Yeah.
I think if it was stretched out and we saw and what we got in this episode, if we had 10 times that throughout the season of quieter moments with just her and John,
Yeah.
and John slowly seeing her like, oh shit, she's losing everybody, and she's actually losing it, and Varys seeing that, and all these people around her seeing that, and it wasn't done in just 3 episodes. I think it would have been way more powerful.
Agreed.
But yeah, that's all I really want to say about that. Is that to get to this, it would have been much better. But I agree that this was the ending I was expecting. There were a few surprises. Um, I kind of wanted a few more surprises, but at the end of the day, I was totally positive about this episode. I watched and I thought that's a good ending to this series. But man, people were so upset. We kind of talked about it a few minutes ago. I don't know if people are expecting another battle or a big like confrontation. Um, I only saw it going down with John and her.
Yeah, no, the way that this worked, I think the thing was everybody wanted Arya to come in and get this done and everything, but including me, like I was thinking it was probably going to go that way,
Yeah.
because this was such a moment for John to understand, that he's and that's why I loved him asking, the last time he actually has any dialogue,
Right.
asking, was it right?
Right.
Because that's what he has always what he has always tried to do, was the right thing.
Oh yeah.
And now,
I mean, they even brought up what was his name? Aemon.
yeah,
They go back to that conversation where
love is the death of duty.
Yes, love is the death of duty, and I like how Tyrion kind of turns it.
Yeah.
Duty is the death of love, and that was such a good callback.
Yeah, it was. And that was the struggle that he had, was like, this doesn't feel like the right thing, because the right thing was always laid out in front of him. He was not a sneaky, backstabbing, spy kind of, like, he faced his problems head on.
Oh yeah, no, he was just as honorable as Ned, And at the same time, he also made a lot of the same mistakes that Ned did too when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Because just because you're honorable in this world, that doesn't mean you're going to live.
Yeah.
And I think he had to play that very carefully, which is why I think he kept denying Tyrion and even Arya when they
Yeah.
were like, she is evil. She's going to keep doing this. Actually, maybe I got a little bit ahead of myself. I was wondering, what did you think of the scene with Tyrion and his brother and sister?
That I loved it
I did
because
too.
it's still family. And
Yeah.
he for as evil and everything as they were, it was his brother who he loved, and and his sister who for all of her horrifyingness,
Hmm.
was still carrying that child, and he
Oh,
just
yeah.
that's why he set Jamie free, was just to get her out so that they could go live and raise a kid, and he did it for Jamie. And that's who I think he's crying over. I don't think he's crying so much over Cersei. I think it's because he's seeing Jamie and saying that he
Right.
couldn't save them.
Right. I mean, it kind of reminded me of the Sam situation where Sam found out about his father, and it's like, yeah, his father was a terrible person. At the end of the day, it was his dad.
Yeah.
And his brother especially. And I think it was one of those where like Tyrion realized like he knew he was going to die because of the decision he made.
Yeah.
Um,
And then it
he
didn't
wanted to
mean
see
anything.
if they actually got away, and when he realized they didn't, and realized they were both dead, and they died in each other's arms. Two things though, also, I thought it's one of those situations where I'm glad this scene happened because he's such a good actor, Peter Dinklage.
Yeah.
Kind of like the scene where he actually he released his brother. One of my favorite scenes in the entire series. It is silly that it happened that they just let him get in there and go. This is also kind of silly where it's like the bricks did not fall 5 feet to the left of you.
I would have.
I didn't see that happening. I honestly thought he would walk up to a bunch of bricks and then that was as far as he could go.
I saw that, but I also think that they needed to show the bodies. But
I do too.
the thing that would have really sold that for me is that he gets through where it's collapsed, and then, hey, look, this entire hallway is perfectly sturdy to walk on until you get to this one pile, which is
Right.
not what we saw in the last episode. I would have loved to have seen, just give me, a foot of debris everywhere.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's the
Everywhere.
only touch I'm missing. And then,
Yeah.
oh my god, and then also, I get it. The whole tunnel didn't have to collapse, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more destruction there.
Yeah, that was one of those things where that's something they could have tweaked a little bit and it would have been fine. But
Yeah.
I don't want to get caught up on that. I also thought it was cool the scene with Jon and Grey Worm,
Yes.
where he stopped him
Yeah.
from, he tells him I forget what the dialogue was, but Grey Worm ended up cutting their throats.
Yeah, it's like these men have surrendered. It's like, what more do you need? It's like I kill my queen's enemies.
Yeah.
It's like they were.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, but they're already beaten. It's like I'm following her orders. It's like
Right.
that was the thing. I am following my queen's orders.
Yeah.
That was, I think, the first one where Jon was just like, this is insane. This is madness. This is legitimate madness.
Yeah. And then we get the shot of Jon walking up all the soldiers, which looks very much like Hitler World War II.
A little bit, but then we get one of the most magnificent shots in this entire show.
Oh yeah.
With when she comes into view and Drogon spreads his wings behind her, and it looks like she is spreading these dragon wings. That was perfect. That was magnificent.
Brilliant. Absolutely. Brilliant.
That was the solidification of she is the Dragon Queen. She is the Mad Dragon Queen.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, and then the speech, this whole, we will liberate the entire world, and it's like, okay, no, she's gone too far now.
Yep. This is the Empire.
Yep. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
This is Palpatine in the Senate.
Yes, exactly. And and it's like we've talked about before, if they would have stretched this out a little bit more, if we got a few hints of her talking like that throughout the season, I think it would have played off a lot better. And hats off to Emily. I mean, she put on such a performance. This season, really, she's done such a good job.
Absolutely.
And I like how Arya just pops up behind her, to the side of her.
Yeah, when she,
like, oh shit, there you are.
Yeah.
Scares him.
It's great.
It's fantastic. I hope she's on Saturday Night Live one time and she just pops up to the right of people and scares the shit out of them. But I love that conversation with her. And then he goes and has basically the same thing with Tyrion.
Yeah.
And it's the whole talk. And these are the scenes that we have talked about that have been missing this season.
Yes.
Everyone's excited about the big battles, and of course we are too. But we needed more scenes like this. We needed more scenes like from episode 2, where they're all sitting around the hearth and they're talking and they're having conversations. And if they would have fleshed out the season with a lot more of this, I think people would have been so much. There's always going to be people that are upset with it. Well, John should have sat on the throne at the end, and since he didn't, I'm going to throw a fit. There's always going to be people like that where they don't like where the story went. But I think for the most part, most people, it was the pacing, and more scenes like this would have fleshed it out for sure.
I mean, had they just made this a 10-episode season,
I agree.
I think had they made this a full season, they could have done enough of it. But
exactly. Oh yeah. That is one decision I think that they will regret. Maybe they'll probably never admit it, but they'll probably look back and go, you know what, we could have given that a little bit more time. But it is what it is. So all of these people are going to go on to do awesome stuff. I'm super excited to see what they do with their Star Wars movies. I'm super excited to see these actors and other things. There's a lot of the people I was looking at. There's a lot of people in the production of this that are working on the Amazon Lord of the Rings show, which is exciting.
Sure, I'm not surprised. If you're gonna
casting director.
Well, exactly. If you're looking at, hey, we're starting a show that's set in a giant fantasy universe.
Yeah.
Where should we hire people from? How about a multiple Emmy award-winning show that's set in a giant fantasy universe?
Right. Exactly. I'm excited to see where everyone goes from this. And at the end of the day, if you're not happy with the season, you gotta give it off to the people behind the scenes and the actors, because I really think they've done such a good job. But anyway, this scene with Tyrion and Jon Snow was just perfect. His last ditch effort to be like, I forgot what the phrase was, but he was like, it is the most important thing. If you believe that you would be a better leader.
Yeah. What about Sansa? What about your sisters?
Yes.
They don't get to choose. No, but you do, and you have to choose right now.
Yeah, and I think that they don't get to choose. That became an important part when he was talking to Daenerys.
Yeah.
We get Jon walking up, to the, I don't know what the room was called, but basically the throne room.
The throne room. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And it was such a cool shot because it caught me by surprise. Was the dragon there?
Yeah.
Drogon was just you didn't see him under all that snow. Then he starts shuffling. Gives him a little sniff with the snout, and I thought it was cool. I thought it was such a cool shot.
Yeah.
And to me, like when people, I heard some complaints. People were like, "Well, why didn't she have security?" And I was like, "Do you not see the
She
dragon?
destroyed the entire city, and yeah, there's a dragon outside."
There's a dragon outside. Who is going to be more security than a dragon?
Yeah.
And a lot of the people were saying, well, it doesn't matter that he was Targaryen. Well, right there, that scene is one of the reasons it matters in the story. He's a Targaryen because he's the only one that could have ever gotten close to her to do something like that.
Exactly.
But I thought that was really cool, and I think it set up something we're going to see in a few minutes from now of why I think they were basically letting the audience know he knows that Jon is her lover and that he's a Targaryen or whatever, that he knows he's good.
Yeah.
Then we get the which I thought was such a well done shot scene, because it's basically a throwback to her dream.
Yeah, where she's
Vision.
reaching for the throne, and then in that scene she doesn't have a really nicely done French manicure, and she doesn't actually touch the throne.
Yes, and I thought it was really well done because in the vision we always thought it was snow, we thought it was whatever, and I liked that trick.
Yeah.
That it was kind of like how we talked about a few weeks ago, how you can use the word see and see.
Yeah.
And it was the same concept but visual. That we always thought it was snow, like winter is coming and it's going to come for but this scene is clearly ashes. And I thought that was such a well done shot. But yeah, so yeah, she touches it, which she didn't do in her vision. And in the vision, I think she hears the dragon, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and technically, he is a dragon, I guess. But you know, John comes in and they have the conversation. I just thought again, the whole time I'm like, he's gonna do it. He's gonna kill her. This is the Azor Ahai prophecy.
Yep.
And the people who are complaining about John and the Azor Ahai meaning nothing, well, they just got it. They're all complaining, thinking that a few episodes ago he has to stab his love in the heart to save everyone, and that's exactly what this was.
Yeah.
You can interpret it that way, I guess, if you wanted to. There's a lot there to interpret, and that was the only way this was going to work, I think. And it was just, yeah, it was such a well done acting job. You could tell he was conflicted. He just fell in love with this woman, yet she just destroyed an entire city. He had to do the honorable thing.
Yeah.
And Drogon doing what he did, not killing John, kind of bumping her, like it was almost like
it was a dog.
Like a dog, or like, I don't know, like Simba and Mufasa. Almost.
Exactly. God, I heard that on a reaction video. They were like, "Oh my God, it's the Lion King all over again."
Yeah, that's kind of what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of talk about him destroying the Iron Throne. There, you can take it multiple ways. You could take it where like he was just trying to make an exit to pick her up and take her out. There was another one where it was like he saw something pointy. He thought that that must have done it. But I like the idea, because George R. R. Martin has talked about the dragons are extremely intelligent. They're just intelligent in different ways.
Well, and we've seen that. They have shown that these are not just beasts that are tamed.
Exactly.
They have shown in the show these are creatures of genuine intelligence.
Yeah.
And I
like the idea that, oh, go ahead.
I'm just gonna go where you're going, of like that he looks at the throne and says, "This must be the thing."
Yeah, this must be the thing that killed you, that drove you to this.
Yeah.
And destroyed it. And whichever way you believe it, because it could be any of those things. I subscribe to the later.
Yeah.
And I love that idea, that symbolism, and it's this: get rid of this, destroy it, break the wheel.
Yeah.
And I like that the Targaryen dynasty started with this and it ended with this.
It starts in Dragonfire. It ends in Dragonfire.
With fire and blood.
Yep.
That's exactly what happened. And that's what I subscribe to. And it could totally be something different. And I imagine when they do behind the scenes for this episode, they might even talk about something like that. Because they usually go into all that kind of behind, inside their head stuff with behind the scenes. So I'm interested to hear what the creators think about that scene. But that's what I took out of it as well. And I love that. And he picked her up and took her off. And, we all know she's dead. I do love the theory that he's taking her to the east to be resurrected, because that's where all the red priests and all those other people are, and those temples and all that other stuff. 100% not going to happen, but I love that idea. I like that idea, because they kind of interrupt him later on in the episode to jump forward real fast.
Yeah.
Because there's like, where's the dragon? Well, he's ended up, and then Bronn like interrupts that.
Yeah. The further away, the better.
Yeah. And I've listened to a few podcasts where they talk about, I forgot what temples specifically that they do resurrection. That would be interesting, if they ever wanted to, open up that chapter with a spinoff or something like that, because that would be insane because she would be such a villain if she came back, kind of like with like Lady Stoneheart in the books.
Yeah.
Well, should I not spoil the book? Sorry.
Well, I mean, that's like a book 3 spoiler, isn't it? Like.
Right. So if you know what I'm talking about, I'll just say that.
Yeah.
That would be such a Darth Vader type situation, essentially.
Yeah. In a way. Yeah. I get that.
Or it could never happen, and that's a perfect ending for her. I like that is still open for interpretation, or that chapter's still open. I love that there's still a dragon roaming around.
Yeah, and
Just fury.
I think we both, because I was looking at, like, I was thinking about everything that we talked about last week of, like, here's how we each kind of think it goes down, and I think
Yeah.
we both were kind of on the same page of, like, yeah, Drogon should just kind of roam the earth.
Yes, exactly. So if he goes and drops her off in Valeria and that's it, we never see her again, and he's just roaming around the planet, perfect. We see him, and we'll get to some spin-off stuff in a little bit, but he could pop up in a different spin-off that I think might be happening later down the road. But I love that. I'm glad that he wasn't killed off. I got so scared, when they started killing the dragons off. I'm like, no, don't do this. This is what makes the world so interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't want there to be one left. I want him to somehow make more, and there be more dragons. But I loved all of the symbolism there. I'm glad he didn't kill Jon. I was so scared he was about to. I thought, well, that's the end of Jon. That's going to be the end of his story.
Yeah.
And it looked like he kind of accepted that. Like, this is the second dragon he's looked in the face of. I'm like, okay, you're gonna kill me. But I like that.
I wonder. There's one thing that I wonder about Jon.
Yeah.
We've never seen him set on fire.
Well, okay. Well, so I've thought about that too. We have seen him hold fire and got completely burned.
That's true.
So, and the other thing is, Dany is not immune to fire. George R. R. Martin, in interviews, because I watched a million in the last few like last month, he said she's not immune to fire. She has a tolerance to it. She could walk through it. It can burn around her. But more than likely, if Dragon directly shoots fire at her, she would actually burn too. And I think he would as well.
Fair enough.
Of course. But I also don't think he has the same immunity as her. She's pure blood. He's not. He's a bastard.
That's true. That's a fair point.
Yes. And and I think maybe it was just be what's the word? I can't.
Continuity error?
Continuity error. There you go. In like the first season, he helps the Lord Commander with the White Walker. He grabs a lantern, and it's super hot.
That's right. Yeah, it does burn him. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I took that as he's brave. Like he knew that he had to do what he had to do to save the realm, and that was it. And this is one of the parts where this episode could have been split up into a few episodes. This is where it should have ended with that, because then we get the time jump.
Yeah, of what, like 2 or 3 weeks?
Yeah, but it's suddenly we see Tyrion, and he's always had a kind of full beard since like the second or third season, but he's got a big beard now.
Yeah, now it's scraggly looking. Like
I just got a subscription to Warcraft, and I'll see you guys later for the next few months. That's my beard when I subscribe to Warcraft. And yeah, you get that time jump, and I have some questions there, like why didn't they immediately kill Jon, or
because they had no leader. Like what they were lost. These were not a.
True.
None of these groups were used to being leaderless.
True.
So,
and I wonder why Grey Worm. That's something I would have liked to have seen. Because how did he not immediately kill Jon? Because that's like her queen.
Because I think there was still a part of him, like he was around for all of the statecraft stuff.
Yeah.
So I think he picked up enough to know that if he just killed him, then all hell was going to break loose.
Die.
Yeah.
Especially with no dragon, then suddenly you just have an army of Unsullied.
Yeah. And that's it, because he didn't control the Dothraki. Like
right, exactly.
Like without her, because we don't know what happened to them. I think they just kind of fucked off.
No, they're actually in, I think, one of the last scenes when Jon is walking. It's almost like they are a part of the society in Westeros now, and I kind of liked that.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah,
at least I'm pretty sure I saw 2 of them walking around, and I thought that's a cool little shot.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, no, they could have totally fucked off and went back to Essos. I imagine that's what they did, because to have a Dothraki horde just running around the Riverlands would have been frightening.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we get kind of I loved this scene. This should have been like an episode. This entire scene.
Yeah. It was so good, because again, like we talked about, this is what, like, for the big battles and everything are great, but this is what this show excels at.
Yeah.
And it was great to just see, here's the Council of the Lords of Westeros, and okay, fine. And I really loved Arya and Yara kind of going at it, and Davos just being like, "Look, we've killed enough of each other. Like, that was enough of that. I really love that Davos survived everything because he's the level head of all of it. He is the everyman in all of this.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
he does. He really represents the merchants and the street merchants, the not the the spice kings of the world, but just he is the person who is just trying to make his way through life.
Oh yeah, Davos is one of my favorite characters
Yeah.
by far. I like that. Like there were some cool characters there. Like a lot of people didn't realize that was Howland Reed
Yeah.
there, which was neat. I wish we would have gotten more of him in the series because I think there was more to him and Ned, and all that went down that just wasn't said. Because it was his son who went and saved Bran, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
Jojen. Yeah.
right, right. So there was just a lot of interesting characters here.
Yeah,
There was a go
I
ahead.
forgot that was Robin Aaron on that side.
Yes, yeah.
Like that
He grew
floored
up.
me because he looked, like somebody with some sense. He didn't look like the very strange, you know.
Right. Looks like he grew up and he wasn't as
Yeah.
crazy, weird as he was when he was little.
Yeah. But I think
Um,
that was because of Lysa Arryn because she was
yes,
not all there. I think that was her influence.
exactly. Yeah, they took her away and they probably manned him up a little bit. They probably, got him out there doing things instead of being, what was it, babied or whatever he was being.
Yeah, basically.
And I shouldn't say man him up, but you know what I mean. They made him more of an adult.
Yeah.
But yeah, they and man, it was cool to see Gendry there, um, with
It's
the Bartharian stuff all over him or whatever.
Baratheon, yeah.
Baratheon. Why do they keep saying Bartharian? Jesus. But anyway, yeah, I loved it. I loved that scene. I'm curious who the Prince of Dorne is.
That's a good question. I don't know if that's a character that we were ever introduced
We
to.
weren't.
Maybe
What's her name? Was it Marcel? We don't even know if she survived. I guess she didn't if she's not there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with probably no.
Yeah,
No,
I've taken her and her daughter both died in
in that cell.
Sacrifice
Yeah.
Landing. Yeah. Um, but it was an interesting council. It was a council of characters that we saw barely of, some of them a lot of, but it was. You go back a season ago at who all met there and who's there now. It's such a different rotating cast.
Boy, it
So
sure
different.
is. Like,
It really is. They've weeded out a lot of people. And who was the Tully guy? What's his name? The one that
was it Edmund? Was it Edmund
I
Tully?
think so. Yeah.
Yes, I would like, as a veteran of 2 wars, I would like to think that it's left me with some no small spirits of statecraft. Uncle, please sit. Like,
He can't do anything
that,
right.
that was the most magnificent. Sit down and shut your mouth.
Exactly.
Like, God
Yeah.
damn.
Like, you think it's gonna be you, really?
Yeah. And then I really loved he turned and waxed his sword on a pole. Like that was
Yeah. Yeah. It was perfect.
And then,
Yeah.
because like everybody across from him is trying not to laugh, and then he does that, and Sam just kind of turns his head, just like, "Oh, good."
I like that Sam got up and just suggested democracy.
Yeah, and of course everybody immediately just looked at that and was just like, "Are you kidding? Really?
Yeah.
Have you seen the people?" Like,
Right.
and I love that that's a relevant critique,
Yes.
and
Yeah,
I hate
yeah.
that that's a relevant critique.
Oh yeah.
But like they're gonna wind up doing much better. Give it 2 or 3 generations, they're gonna be just as bad off as they've always been.
Yes.
But
this was a step in the right direction.
yes, in the moment it was, well then who would you choose? And I loved Tyrion's logic behind all of it. The whole, what unites us. And of everything else he picks a story.
Right.
Because he's absolutely right. You can't beat a good story.
Yes.
You can try. You can really, really try.
Yep.
But you can't beat a good story. And
No.
who has a better story than Bran the Broken?
Yep.
And I just thought, oh, so they destroyed the Iron Throne because he's already got one? Like,
Yeah. No.
It's,
I mean, I love the idea. I think there's tons of people that made a bunch of memes about like how every other character had a better story.
I disagree. I loved like the way that Tyrion set it out. I think it makes perfect sense.
It does, and I think the second part of that is what's lost on a lot of people. He wasn't just saying that he has a good story. he is
He
their
is
keeper of
he
stories.
is the story. He is all of the
Yes, he
stories.
is their histories, and he
Yeah.
mentions that in that
Yeah.
conversation. He's like, he knows our past, he knows everything, and that's why they set up the Night King as coming after him to erase their history, to erase them off of everything.
Yeah.
And I thought that made perfect sense. A lot of people that was lost on, but I thought that, and that was the big twist for me for the season finale, is I was not expecting Bran to be the
Oh,
last guy.
no,
I
hell
loved
no.
his comments like, "Why did you think I came all the way
Yeah.
here?"
What?
Like, oh, that makes sense. And and I like that, when John was like, "Should I tell them about my heritage?" He left it up to him.
Yeah.
And maybe he saw what was going to happen, but he probably also saw that
It didn't matter.
it didn't matter. Exactly. She was going to do what she was going to do and kill all these people.
Yeah.
And if he said anything, then the wheel would have probably never been broken.
Yeah. If John even if John had kept that secret to himself,
Yeah.
just him and Sam and Brandon, the only three that knew, he
Yeah.
still would have had to face the choice of, do you let this queen live and
Right.
see what happens? I still think
Exactly.
I think everything still plays out exactly the same.
It does. Oh yeah, because if we are to believe that it was always in her to do good or bad, that wasn't going to change the decision.
Yeah.
She was, man, she was hungry. She wanted this, and it just boiled over. And it got to a point where she was way too comfortable with it. And I like the idea that it was, George R. R. Martin and the people who created the show, we got so comfortable with her murdering people. We were cheering along with it the
Yeah.
entire time.
Well, because they were evil people.
And who decided that?
We did.
She did. And we went along with it.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, is that we got so comfortable with it. So when she turns, it's like, whoa, wait a second. If you would have told me at the beginning of the series that I would be wanting her dead, I would have told you you're crazy. But that's where we were
and
at.
not just
in
wanting
the
her
episode.
dead.
I wanted her to, after I saw what happened to that city, I wanted John to end her life. And so that is such a cool thing to do, where it made me numb to what she was doing, of her crucifying the masters.
Yeah, but there was always that line though of innocent people, and that's
there was always, no, I wouldn't say line, because she did go over. She did kill innocent people.
When? Before King's Landing. When?
She walked into a city and decided that their generations of the way they ruled things was not how it was not good to her in her eyes, and she thought she was going to change it, even though a lot of the people in that city came to her and said, "This is how it's always been. Look what's happening right now." And and that's kind of like, if you think about it right now, where what's happened to everything in Essos, we have no idea. She left it all in shambles. She just left that country in shambles, both of those cities, with absolutely no plan to either go back or to correct it. So, and I think that says a lot about, you could go to current events on how countries will take over other countries and go, "Hey, what you do, it is wrong," and then they just leave that country still in shambles afterwards.
So of course, when they rebuild it, they're just going to go back to the same thing.
And see, that's what I'm saying, is that, like, is that the entire time, yes, we saw the masters as wrong. They owned slaves, of course, crucifying all of them, even the ones. And that's why I thought a little bit of this was introduced on purpose throughout the show. Is they came up and said, "My father was against this. He was totally against this. He spoke against this for years, and you put him, and you crucified him." And it's because she had a my way or the highway, and it was black and white to her when she walked into the city. There was no choice.
And red all over.
And red all over, yeah. So I just thought that was interesting, that you could get the writers could get you to cheer for someone for so long, and then suddenly you're like, "Oh fuck." I did not see it going this direction, and I should have at least seen a little bit of it.
Yeah.
And we got so bloodthirsty with her killing. It's kind of like the Dexter, or it's like, for example, Dexter should have ended season 4.
I think after Trinity, that should have been the end of it.
Right, and it should have been, of course this is going to lead to here. We were cheering you on for so long, but how is it going to end any other way because of the path you went down?
Yeah.
And it's that it's just a tragedy. And that's kind of how this was. It was like, yes, we were cheering for her, like she was getting all this power and she was doing all of this, and what if she goes bad? And I liked that. I did like that. But anyway, where were we? Sorry. Back to the council, I guess.
Yeah.
I just love this scene. Like I said, this is one of those where they could have padded out. I could have seen so much more of this because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And you will be my hand. What?
Yeah. Oh, I
No.
like that.
No, I don't want it. Well, and I don't want to be king. It's
Right.
just like, well, you can't argue with that. I loved and hated his logic because I understand the idea behind he deserves justice. I did the really love. You can't do that. Yes, I can. I'm king.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
because the thing is, Bran is very just matter of fact. There is no intentional wit or sarcasm or anything. It's just he is just stating fact.
Right.
You know, I'm king. You know, he's like, well, he demands he should have justice. He just got it. He made a lot of mistakes. He's gonna spend the rest of his life fixing them.
Right.
And
right.
that is just. That's a lot of people aren't gonna like that. A lot of people are gonna think that Grey Worm is kind of right, and that's not something that I really can argue against.
Yeah.
But I like Bran's decision. Bran looked at Tyrion and said, "Here's somebody who has tried to do, who yes has done awful things, but when it counted, he showed himself to be a man of character and wanted to do the right things."
Yeah.
So a mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Yeah.
Basically.
Oh yeah, exactly. And this is you know, he was at his best when he was the hand. That was my favorite part of him on the show. You know, and I think it's a great end to that. You have a Stark and you have a Lannister at the end of the day ruling the kingdom together, not at each other's throats. I like that.
Yeah.
And then we got to, you know, we I think it went to Jon.
Yep.
And Jon was told that he was going to be sentenced to the wall, which that's where he wanted to go anyway. He did not want. Well, he didn't want to go to the wall, but he just didn't. He didn't want any part of.
He didn't belong anywhere.
Yeah, he didn't want to be king.
Yeah, and I really love just the disbelief in that there's still a Night's Watch.
Yeah,
and I'm of that mindset too of like, why is there still a Night's Watch?
Well, I mean, there's still things beyond the wall, you know, and I think the idea is that we killed that threat. We need to make sure that it does not come back.
I think I really liked Tyrion's explanation though of there will always need to be a place for bastards and broken things.
Ah, you're right.
It's the alternative to a death sentence. It's you know, you can die or you can go serve at the wall. You can make something of your life.
Exactly.
It is a place for last chances.
Right. Oh yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And they did do things because I mean the White Walkers, you know, didn't really show themselves until kind of recently.
Well, I mean, before that though, it was the Wildlings, but Jon already made peace with the Wildlings. So I mean,
well, now to skip ahead a little bit, we have a King of the North now. I'm sorry, King Beyond the Wall.
Essentially, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So, you know, you got a Stark in every place in Westeros ruling. So, but to kind of rewind real fast, you know, they showed a Grey Worm, you know, getting his Sully, and they go to, and I like the little touch of going to the Isle of Narth. Was it Narth or
Noth?
Noth, yeah. Which they're all gonna die. Spoiler alert. Do you know about that? We've talked about that before, right?
No, another.
Oh, okay. So the island. So this is why so many people were taken from that. The islands. Now you could. Okay, so the books are not the same as the TV show.
Right.
So I'm going to take this part away from it, so it's an enjoyable ending.
Okay.
So the isle. The reason why she was taken in the first place, and a lot of people were taken, is because the islanders, the people that live there, are very peaceful. They don't believe in war. They have been able to live like that for generations because the island is full of butterflies.
Okay.
poisonous butterflies to anyone besides the people who were born on that island.
Okay.
So you get close to the island and you go on the island, you will die of poison a few minutes in or a few hours in or whatever. I guess the people found out that the people who invaded it found out that at night the butterflies, I think, go away or something happens where they only have like an hour or two to get in and out. So that's how she was stolen.
Okay.
But if Grey Worm doesn't know that and he shows up with all of these Unsullied and they get off in the daytime, they're all going to die.
Oh, that's
I do
unfortunate.
like the idea that that's not the rule in the TV universe, because I like the idea that he's going there to protect those people,
Yeah.
to make sure none of them will ever be taken again.
Yeah.
And that's a very cool way to think about it. And I think that's exactly what, because they never once talk about the butterflies on the show, so I think that's just a book thing.
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely like they kind of inadvertently left it out. I think
Yes,
they were like, this is a fun detail, but we don't really need it. And
right.
as an unintended result,
Yes.
we get this. I do.
Exactly. And I think it's just like the Jamie thing in the what did we talk about, where what was it, the prophecy of that frog lady or whatever,
Yeah.
that they left out that part specifically for the show. And there's a million other things they've left out because they didn't want to, it would just cause issues with the show. But yeah, I thought that was a cool way to send them off. And I saw a lot of things, people online like, well, if they're gone, they should have been like, hey, John, psych, you're cool, you can hang out.
Yeah,
But
but
he's a man of honor,
exactly.
he's not, and he didn't want to stay there anyway. I just thought that was a funny meme. But then we get the goodbye with him, Arya, and Sansa, and Bran.
Yeah. I liked, and it was a good scene with Sansa of just, they, she has more than earned her place.
Oh yeah, we
No
didn't really talk
question.
about that
Yeah.
at the
At the
in
council.
the council. She was like, look, the North has lost too much for us not to be our own, thing. Um, and it went from the Seven Kingdoms to the Six
The
Kingdoms.
Six Kingdoms, yes, and Lord of
Uh,
the Six Kingdoms.
exactly, and it makes sense. I mean, Bran and Sansa are they're blood. They're gonna get along. They're gonna be allies. This makes sense. And the other thing we kind of talked about is that kings will no longer be chosen by blood. It will be chosen upon by the leaders of the kingdoms.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Sansa's a part of that. Maybe she is. But I think
Probably not anymore though.
probably not anymore. Yeah. But I think that's a great idea.
I think that's going to fail them within 3 generations.
Right, but it's a good idea. We'll find out.
So is democracy.
That's another book
but,
series.
Yeah, right.
Clash of the Kings 2. But there's a lot of good directions that they're going in. So anyway, I like the goodbye between them. I think the Arya stuff totally sets up a spinoff show.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Arya.
What's west of Westeros?
Westworld.
Oh yeah, there you go. Westworld. Yeah, no.
I loved one thing that I
What?
saw in a reaction video. Somebody asked that, like, "What is west of Westeros?" And somebody went, "Westeros." Oh,
You know what'd be funny? I wish I had the editing skills and a way to pull this off. Did you see the Westworld 3 trailer?
No, I didn't.
What?
No,
Dude.
I still haven't watched season 2 because I don't care.
Never watched season 2 either, and I honestly don't think you need to.
Okay, fair enough then.
The
Then I'll give
Westworld
it a look.
season 3. Did you know who's in it?
It's Aaron Paul, right?
Aaron Paul, yeah, and it's like the entire trailer has nothing to do with Westworld, because it basically looks like Future World, which is the world that they live in or whatever.
Okay.
And it's Aaron Paul pulling off heists, and he's
Okay.
talking about how like just everything is fake, nothing is real. He just wants something real in his life. And the trailer ends with this woman stumbling into an alleyway, and he's like, "Hey, lady, you okay?" And it's the girl, it's the woman from the first season who has escaped, Alice, and she's escaped into the real world.
Huh.
And so season 3 is going to be about, because I never saw season 2, but the entire trailer had nothing to do with season 2, and it looks like it picks up right after season 1. So I'm like, maybe it's the creators of the show going, hey, season 2 did not go well.
So it's like True Detective, where it was like, oh yeah, there was a second
Yes.
season, but we're just not going to talk about that.
Exactly.
It's fair enough.
So it looks good. I mean, Aaron Paul, and it looks like it has nothing to do with season 2. I never saw season 2, um, but I don't know. It looked interesting. So I would love to edit that shot of Arya stumbling, and then him going, "Hey, lady, you okay?" But yeah, but I mean that's that. If they do a West of Westeros, that's beyond the books because no one in the books. I think there's some hints in the world of Ice and Fire that West of Westeros is just the other side of the map. And it's the was it Ying? I don't know. I can't pull. I'm not there yet. But I think it's um. Let me pull up the map real fast.
It's
I
probably
think it's
nothing.
I don't know.
It's probably nothing because the world is flat. So
Well, no. So we'll see. That's the thing is in Westeros, you know how it's kind of based roughly off of our own globe.
right, yeah,
And so China would be all the way to the east.
yeah,
So that's the idea, is that if you go west, super west, you'll just run into that continent,
yeah,
which would be awesome because they hardly talk about any of that. None of that's really in the books, but if you look at the world of Ice and Fire, there's a ton of there was a whatever dynasty that lasted all of these generations, and technically the first invasion of the Azor Ahai and all of that other stuff, and
yeah.
the White Walkers came from. There was an invasion on that coast in Essos. That's where the Azor Ahai and the all of that stuff happened. Um, because the religion and all that other stuff is over there. So that's it. I don't know. That's a whole nother bag. We're talking about the season finale here. That's all crazy lore stuff. So I would love if they did a show with her. I think she could totally carry her own series.
Oh yeah, no question.
Yeah, and it would be totally interesting. It would be new for everybody, so people couldn't complain. They couldn't be like, "Well, that's not the way it," I don't know. And then that way you can have a dragon fly by suddenly. You're like, "Hey, we know that guy."
Yeah,
And you could have her, and her adventures over there. I think that would be phenomenal. I hope they've been waiting to announce that. I hope that you can have the prequel series and you can have the series with her. And I think that would be perfect.
yeah, agreed.
And that way you tell the story of Game of Thrones moving forward, in time, and you also have the prequel. Um, and when you move forward, now it'll be a whole different continent. It'll still be Westeros, so there'll still be the different, people, the different whatever, but it'll be a whole new land. And if it is basically just Essos, then you still have all that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeeti. I'm sorry. Yeah, Yeeti, and then it's the Shadowlands of Ashai, where we heard Melisandre and all that from. And that's basically as far east that they go in the books. So if suddenly she bumps into the Shadowlands and Ashai and all that other stuff that we've only heard about in the show, that would be awesome.
interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, so we saw the goodbye to those characters, and then we kind of got this really cool shot of them all getting ready.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
No, we have the council first.
Yeah, I skipped a super important part.
A little bit, yeah. Just Tyrion.
Brienne.
I love Tyrion setting up the chairs.
Well, no, hold on. It's Brienne.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yes. She got to basically finish Jaime's chapter, and I thought that was super awesome. That was a, people talk about fan service. That was a fan service moment, and it was absolutely needed.
Agreed. Yeah. Agreed for sure.
Did you notice the raven on her armor?
No.
Yeah, and I guess that's Bran's symbol.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's got a three-eyed raven on it, so I thought that was pretty neat.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes, yeah. And I thought her and Podrick, that was pretty cool to see that he was a knight as well.
Yeah, Sir Podrick of the Kingsguard now.
Sir Podrick the Kingsguard, yes. And she got to finish his chapter, and she made it very heroic. I think she even wrote something like, he escaped to save the people of to save the people of Storm's End and tried to died with I forgot what it was, but she made it sound very heroic.
Yeah.
That he wasn't just going there to save Cersei.
Yeah, died protecting his queen.
Died protecting his queen. That's it. Yes. So I thought that was really cool. She gave him the ending that he always wanted.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. And then we got the council scene.
And I, I'm like, okay, he's the hand. Who all is here? And the first person to walk in is Braun.
Yes. Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, and that sets the tone for this meeting.
Yes. Yeah, he's Lord of Highgarden now.
Yes, Sir Braun of the Blackwater, Lord of Highgarden. What is it? Lord Protectorate of the Reach, Master of Coin.
Yeah.
Or the Master of Coin and Lord of Lofty Titles, which was such a great Davos thing.
Oh, and I like that he corrected his grammar.
There won't be no more money. Any more money. What are you, Master of Grammar now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Davos being Master of Ships. Grand Maester Sam. I love that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Brienne is Captain of the King's Guard.
Yes. Yeah. That was perfect. I thought it was great. I thought that was another fan service moment with Sam writing the Song of Ice and Fire. That was perfect.
He didn't write it. He just came up with the title.
Exactly. Yes, you're right. That what's his face wrote it.
Maester Libros,
the guy from Harry Potter.
Yes,
that's right. But yeah, I thought that was it. I liked how Tyrion wasn't even anywhere in it.
Well, because this guy had never heard of him. Of course, he didn't put him in it.
Right.
It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it makes perfect sense.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, no, I thought that was a great scene. And it ended with him with his joke about the
yes.
honeycomb.
Yes. It's like what was it? I once took a jackass and a honeycomb into a brothel.
Yes.
And then it just kind of cuts to the wall, and you're like, we've never heard this story.
Yeah, exactly. It was just a cool way for that to go out. That we always did. That's the way we leave those characters.
Yeah.
It was a good ending. And then we see Jon go to the wall. We see his buddy. He gets to pet his dog. I wonder if they reshot that or they added that last minute.
I doubt it. No, I think that was always the plan.
All that backlash and what was it, 3 weeks ago? There was no way they could have done that.
No, no, that's what I'm saying. I think that was the plan because Tormund was there.
Yeah.
He sent Ghost with Tormund, so if Tormund was there, of course Ghost would be there. That was always the plan.
Yeah, but man, the internet lost their minds when they were like, "Well, he didn't pet the dog. Now he pet the dog. Everyone can relax."
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it before. He's missing an ear.
Well, I don't know if he had been after the. I mean, it would make sense that it happened after the Battle of Winterfell, but I don't know.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
it was, gotcha.
It was dark, so I mean.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah.
Cut to 2 episodes later when they made it so bright because they lit everything on fire.
Right.
Is this bright enough for you?
Right. But it's just a little bit of a ear. He's fine. He's a direwolf. He'll live. So
he's all right.
And Jon's with his people, man. This is when he was the most happy.
Yeah, this is where he belongs. That's what, that's why I was like, I was really happy to see this. I was like, I called it. King be on the wall. Like
you're absolutely right.
It makes sense. It was where he fit in best.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't fit in even in the north.
Right.
He was at his best beyond the wall.
He was. He absolutely was, and they respected him and his Tormund and all of these people. And I think what's the Reed's daughter was there. I think I caught her. Let's see if I can fast forward this a little bit.
Don't remember her name.
But the one who helped Bran beyond the wall, Mira Reed.
Was Mira there too?
I think she was.
Oh, that would be interesting.
I think she was with the wildlings, walking beyond the wall. I could be wrong. I probably am wrong.
That would be interesting because I don't remember, I don't even remember what happened to them. I know Jojen died. I remember. I think.
Or did she? I thought I saw her.
I don't know. I really don't remember. I remember. I remember. Because the only one that I remember that I remember her and Jojen, but I forget what happened to them. The only one I can remember is the wildling woman that carried him everywhere.
Yeah.
And she died at Winterfell.
Okay, let me see here.
I can't remember.
We last saw her at Winterfell, and they went their. I know her and Bran went their separate ways.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought I saw her in the season finale. I'm probably wrong.
You might have. Like, that would kind of make sense in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. But, and I think this was, him looking back at the wall. I think this basically just made him, king of the Beyond the Wall.
Yeah.
And this was if you were a Stark fan, which most people are, this was a happy ending to those characters.
Yeah, this was the happiest ending they were gonna get.
Yes. Oh yeah, because this could have all ended very bad.
Yeah.
I mean, given the show's history, they could have all died, and Daenerys won, and she was destroyed the city, and she was the ruler, and that's just somehow that's just how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah.
So they could have totally went that direction, but we got a happy ending, which is better than I thought we were gonna get. So, I'm happy with it. I as we said a million times, could have been padded out, but it is what it is. This is the timeline we're in right now.
Yeah.
And that's what we get. So it's one of those things where, people are going to talk about, I think years from now, it was a good show. It was to me, it's my favorite show of all time. And I think some people might put the caveat with the last season was rushed, but I think that's really be it. It's so hot right now on the internet and everyone's going crazy. But at the end of the day, you're not going to see another show with this amount of production, this quality, the music, the score, everything about this was just top notch.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I think the worst you could really say is the last season was extremely rushed to the point where some character motivations you didn't see coming, or it wasn't earned, and that I could totally understand that point of view. But like you said in the previous podcast, to say the writing's lazy, that's just a lazy way. That's just a lazy thing to say.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous criticism. It is.
It is. It absolutely is. But at the end of the day, man, this was 8 seasons. This was probably 10 years. And I don't know if we'll see another show like it. I hope.
Ask me again in 10 years.
Exactly. I hope.
We got. We had Lost. We had The Wire. We had The Sopranos. What did we have? Really, let's be honest. Not a ton of people talk about The Sopranos all that much.
Right.
They talk about Lost more than they talk about The Sopranos.
I think so too. Yeah, Lost was the ultimate water cooler show.
Mm-hmm.
There were shows before it that water cooler shows, but that was the one where it had people going, what is going to happen next? What does all this mean?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, man, it's about the journey, honestly. The ending, especially when the journey is so well done, the ending is never going to be in your head what it should be. And there's a few shows that I think have probably done that, like Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad was one of the best finales.
Breaking Bad, yes. And Breaking Bad to a lot of people is a perfect show. It was kind of dark for my taste, but it was a perfect show to a lot of people. And I totally understand why they say that, because from beginning to end, it didn't feel like there was any filler. It was one awesome story.
But even so, there was a little filler.
Yeah. Well, yeah. See, that's the thing.
There's always going to be filler. Like, it's not.
It's as good as you're going to get.
Yeah.
For that kind of stuff, and you're absolutely right. There's always a little bit of filler.
Yeah.
And I think Lost was in that weird phase where it was like, we're going from 23 episode seasons to the United States realizing we could do this in much shorter seasons.
Yeah.
And then when they brought it down to 13 or whatever it was, people were like, what? You're giving us half a season, and now we're getting 10 episode seasons, and people are like, that's good. And when it's 13, people are like, that's a little too much.
Yeah.
Maybe not need those last few episodes of Daredevil or The Punisher or whatever. So we're in that sweet spot now. 10, 13 episodes is a perfect length to tell a good story.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, fantasy wise coming out, we have Watchmen at the end of the year, which has the potential to be really good and to be that water cooler show. We've talked about those. There's a few HBO are doing. What's that one they showed at the end of this? It was the Golden Compass.
Oh, I forget the name there. His Dark Instruments, isn't that what it's called?
His Dark Materials.
Materials, that's his Dark Materials, that's it.
Yes, with the polar bear.
Yeah.
So they got that show coming out. They have, of course, they are shooting right now the Game of Thrones prequel, which will come out probably in a year or two, I imagine.
Yeah.
Blood Moon, it's called, but it's basically the Long Night. So just give it. There'll be a new season of Game of Thrones in a year or two. Just relax. If you're craving more of Westeros, we're gonna get it, and absolutely watch it if you want to support stuff like that. Because um, if these kind of big shows bomb, they're not gonna do a lot of them. Um, so yeah, we got that. We got Amazon's doing Lord of the Rings with the Aragorn and kind of the prequel story. The Wheel of Time they're doing as well. They're putting a ton of money behind those two shows. Netflix. Netflix has a few, but the one that sticks out is the Witcher one.
Yeah. Yeah, Netflix is doing The Witcher.
Yeah.
There was something else that I saw they were doing. I can't remember what it was. It didn't like it was like, oh, that's neat, and then I just kind of forgot about it.
Yeah, let me take a look here. So yeah, we know Henry Cavill is doing Witcher.
Yeah.
We talked about Wheel of Time. They gave it those prequels. Now, by the way, according to George R. R. Martin, there are 5 prequels set up. 2 of them were knocked off. So 3 of them are still in the process of full going ahead.
Okay.
One of them is actually in production, was picked up. So the other 2, he's saying, is there's no stopping these right now. So who knows? Let's see. Yeah, the other one's His Dark Materials we talked about. The Dark Tower is a series that they're doing.
Yeah,
let's see here.
but is that the one that Sony was going to work on, or is that a new one that was announced?
Let's see here. They actually just cast it. Hold on. The Dark Tower.
So it may have been, because I know like Sony was talking about like they were going to have a series to tie into the movies,
Amazon.
But then they bailed on that. So Amazon's doing it.
No, they did. No, this was, April 23rd, 2019.
Okay, so this is new. Okay, good.
Yeah, it's going to pilot on Amazon. It was announced.
Excellent. I'm all right with this. Yeah.
Which is trying to become a human home epic. So yeah, it looks like, yes. And the other big one that we haven't heard too much about, and I'm wondering where it's at, is The Name of the Wind. Now we know that
Showtime. It's on Showtime.
It is Showtime?
It'll be Showtime. Yeah.
Why did I think it was FX?
Because they had probably kicked that around at some point, but they announced Showtime like a year or so ago.
Okay, so I was way off.
Yeah, it's been Showtime, but we don't know. Like that's all we know. You know, we know there are some people working on it, but we haven't heard much about it really since. Like it's been a very long time since we've heard anything about The Name of the Wind. If they wanted to capitalize on any of this fever, they would announce something very shortly.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh wait, this article that came out, I guess, February 11, 2019. Killer Queen Chronicles TV show not based on Name of the Wind. Updates from Writer Room. What?
Yes, the TV show is a prequel series.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, the TV show takes place a generation before the books. The movies that they're going to make are going to be based on the books.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the show is set a generation before.
Okay, perfect. So there you go. You got Showtime doing that. Yeah, there's a ton here. The Runes of Kings.
Never heard of that one.
I've never heard of that either. The first novel author, blah 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 blah. I guess that's something.
Hulu picked up Stephen King's fantasy novel. Was it The Eyes of the Dragon or whatever it was called?
Oh, okay. I guess Good Omens was just...
Good Omens comes out this month, I think, or next month.
Hulu, right?
Yeah. No, Good Omens is Amazon.
Amazon. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Hulu is in the Stephen King business. Yeah, they really are, because, but I mean, they've adapted a lot of his stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm just going through all this, so much. A lot of this is to be announced.
Right.
Kind of like the rights have been picked up.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah. Paul, which of the upcoming series are you most excited about? Of course, Game of Thrones got the most attention. Then it was Lord of the Rings, and behind that was The Wheel of Time.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Behind that was Killer King Chronicles, then The Witcher, then His Dark Materials, then The Dark Tower, then Good Omens, so on and so forth. But yeah.
Good Omens will be good, because Good Omens is a limited series. Good Omens is not going to go on forever. Uh,
Right, right, right,
it's
right.
I think it's just gonna I think it's just a one season and done thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Man, I'm curious about these Lord of the Rings. And I've been going back and watching some some of the behind the scenes stuff, and it's just so good. I've never seen a movie have so much behind the scenes material than those films.
I get that.
Yeah, like it's just hours upon hours of stuff.
Oh, sure. Look at how big they were.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, even like shows, movies like Star Wars, they have a lot, but not on this level. It's
Well,
insane.
but I mean, they didn't build armor for entire armies that
That's
they
true.
then had to find a location to actually march them out on.
That's very
Like I
true.
mean,
That's very true.
they did, and I mean, yeah, I know a lot of it is CGI'd
Mhm.
because you can't just have a million people in orc armor, but they
Yeah.
did have just an absolute truckload of people in that army.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now is that? Correct me if I'm wrong. Return of the King has the most Emmys of any movie, correct?
Uh, I don't know about Emmys.
Or nominated?
Academy Awards, I think you're
Academy
looking
Awards.
for.
That's what I mean. I'm sorry, not
I'm pretty
Emmys.
sure, yes. I think it's what,
Yeah.
11, if I remember
Oh
right.
yeah. I was watching. Do you know? Are you aware of Lindsay Ellis on YouTube?
No, I don't think so.
Ellis. I was watching her video. This is totally random. Sorry. This is very into the episode. But I was watching her video on how Aladdin changed animation.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
I haven't, but I get the premise.
Yeah, yeah. It's totally about how his voice changed everything, and it was just a story of celebrity voice and like how Disney screwed him over, yada 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 yada.
Yeah.
I found the video so fascinating. I started watching the other videos that she did. She has a whole thing on all the Lord of the Rings movies, and it was just she is such an interesting I should say perspective, but she analyzes super analytical when it comes to the movies. I loved her Lord of the Rings when she talked about them. But anyway, so that completely separate thing. But yeah, man. So there's a ton of fantasy out there. There's a ton of stuff to look forward to. I think Witcher comes out next year.
Is it?
Or no, into
It's
this year.
end of this year. Yeah, we talked about this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So man, that and Lord of the Rings and A Wheel of Time. I can't wait. Like I said, I'm reading through the Wheel of Time now. It's a little, it's kind of hard to get through. The Brandon Sanderson Way of the Kings is a lot easier to get through. Maybe it's just because it's newer. The and I don't know, the writing style is just I don't know, it's way easier to get through.
And that to me is always a fair criticism. Like to look at somebody
Yes.
and say I like the way they write better. I think that like I can understand that. Like you can write an absolute masterpiece, and because I was the same way because I was trying to read The Eye of the World, and I was just like
It's
man,
way more Tolkien.
yes, it just plods to me. Like the
Yes.
action is great, but even in the action scenes, it's like I don't care about exactly which hue of amber was glinting off of
Right.
whatever ceramic tiles were on the third hut from the left down the corner from the. I don't care.
And the names, the eyes of a Saurian of the Mountain Kings. Sometimes they lose me with that stuff.
Yeah, you get like I
You get
understand.
lost in it.
You can't create a fantasy world and be fighting, King like Dirk. I get it.
Right.
But
Right.
but
Well,
everything has to have 5 syllables and every letter has to come from the last quarter of the alphabet. And I'm just like, oh.
yes. I found the Way of the King. It's like you follow through. I think there's so far 3 different point of views.
Okay.
But it's all extremely character driven.
Okay. Dig
where
that.
you're with them and you're exploring the world and you're doing this. Where the other one with the Wheel of Time, it was way more like the Tolkien kind of like you're just here's the scene and here's all these things going on. It's way more like Tolkien, which I do enjoy. Like I said, there's a parts where I was reading Way of the King. I was like, I kind of want to go back to that because it's kind of like a fun adventure where they're off to, there's these things after them and they have to get to this town and very much Tolkien like. But then it kind of dragged and I was like, I want to go back to Brandon Sanderson because it's way better written.
Yeah.
And I don't know, yeah. So anyway, so that's where I'm at right now. So I'm jumping between those. Hopefully by next week I'll have one of them finished up. Probably the Wheel of Time, and I'll talk about that. but I'm excited to jump in that because that's like 14 or 16 books, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's a long.
that's gonna take me at least a year, if that. It's gonna take longer than that, to get anywhere close to finishing. Um, and I don't know, man. I've been excited. I've been. That's where all my energy has been these last few weeks.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. So anyway, we gotta go. We'll be back next week. Make sure you go to our Facebook, We Geek Podcast, Twitter at We Geek Podcast, at the Logan Witt, at Adam Estep. Make sure you check us out. We are on Spotify. We are on Android Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff. YouTube, everywhere. Go find us, We Geek Podcast. Email us at wegeekpodcast@gmail.com. And we will see you next week. Captain?
Captain.